Anybody following the Chicago drill scene knows that in the past few months there's been a new star rising, whose appeal was based on the very same idea that made King Von so irresistible to many fans of the genre, a combination of personal charisma and a reputation that they really lived the life they rapped about. And what they most often rapped about was some of the most violent stories coming out of the most dangerous city in America. In a 3.5-hour video about King Von, it dawned on me that having allegedly killed at least 7 people, beating the bodies and then going on to brag about it to the whole world while actively planning more hits, he actually met the FBI's definition of a serial killer. And unfortunately, in recent months, another rapper has emerged who not only claimed to have killed more people than King Von, but also rapped about it and quite literally modeled his persona on other famous serial killers. I'm of course talking about Bloodhound, or Bloodhound Lil Jeff, the self-styled Jeffrey Dahmer of Chicago drill. And to many, the next rapper who was on their way to becoming the next big thing in the drill scene with his wild claims that he had 10 to 11 bodies under his belt, rapping jaw-dropping bars comparing his life to video game Call of Duty and saying that he's really up 10 kills, to comparing himself to basketball legend Bill Russell and inferring that he'd committed as many murders as Russell has won championship rings. Before I tell you any more about the Lil Jeff story, I need to give you a very important content warning. This video is going to contain themes of violence, death, explicit language, and gang activity, but every effort has been made to censor this video in accordance with YouTube's advertiser and community guidelines. And this video will feature absolutely no swearing, no violence, no drug use, and no firearms. So anyone from YouTube reviewing this video, please do not demonetize it. And it's really important for me to explain to you the purpose of this video is to provide an educational documentary providing an authoritative piece of news reporting on a historic event in a journalistic context. It just so happens that this historic event is an important moment in drill music history. And I'm really not making light of these situations I'm going to be talking about in this video. And I'm not going to be recycling this tragedy into content for money like some of these YouTube channels do. I genuinely care about the drill music scene, its history, and I've done extensive research to try and bring you the truth behind the music. I am the #1 journalist in the entire UK when it comes to rap music, drill music, and gang street culture. So I am truly a trusted authority on the topic, and I really care. But that said, all of the opinions that you'll hear in this video are just mine alone, okay? Everything in this video has been taken from publicly available sources, and I'm not saying that everything here definitely happened, but what I am saying is that things were said and theories exist, a lot of them being online. I might say that somebody said that somebody killed someone else on Reddit. I'm not saying they definitely did it, but I am saying that people said it. Now, I'm not responsible for things that other people say, but you can't deny that these things were said, and I will be providing receipts for everything that I discuss in this video. Now, we've made every effort to ensure the accuracy of our sources, but I'm not responsible for the content that third parties publish. Now, any footage that's used in this video will be covered under the doctrine of fair use, which means I don't need anyone's permission to show you the images, clips, or comments that I'm going to show you in order to prove these things actually happened for journalistic reasons. This video aims to educate the public on true cultural events that are socially significant, and I'm not using any more than is strictly necessary to back up what I'm saying as facts, and this video isn't a substitute for any of the things that I'm going to show you in this video. It's a completely unique piece of research with a unique purpose. I'm not taking money out of anybody's pockets, I'm just trying to bring you the facts, and I'm allowed to do that. So any efforts that are made to censor my journalism using things like fake copyright claims or sending me threats and intimidation are completely unlawful and will be reported to the relevant authorities. And even though legally I should, under fair use, be able to play you things like clips from songs where people say relevant things or admit to crimes, or if I'm just analysing a song and giving my opinion on what the relevance of that song actually is in the wider drill scene or what somebody's saying on the song, of course YouTube's copyright system means that if I did that, this video could be taken down, blocked, or demonetized, despite fair use law. So as well as any violence, swearing, or smoking, in this version of the video I've also removed any clips of any songs, which I would be able to show you on other platforms. And I've also removed a lot of random details which don't break any of YouTube's rules, but I just felt they were too long or boring or just detailed to put in this version of the video that I thought was appropriate to put here for everybody to see. So if you do want to see a director's cut of all my biggest videos, where I go much more in depth with a lot of the details that you're just not going to find here, please visit patreon.com/TrapCity Apple or Ross, where you can watch the director's cut for just $2. And also, you'd be supporting the channel. And I'll be quite honest, okay, a few of my recent videos haven't really done too well, they haven't been the most profitable, and the additional support that I get off of YouTube really just allows me to continue making the content I want to make with integrity, covering the topics that I care about the most, rather than just chasing the algorithm and the views. But if you're not interested in any of that, just hit the subscribe button and get ready to hear one of the craziest stories ever told. But interestingly, unlike Von, who was seemingly in the streets since a child, Jeff would wildly claim that he had only gotten involved in the streets about 3 years ago when he turned 18 and graduated from high school, committing all of these alleged murders in a very short time span.
So around what age did you jump off the porch and start hanging out in the streets?
I'm saying when I came outside for real, I was like 18 type shit.
Okay.
I just turned like 18.
Jeff also became known for his equally wild antics that showed he was a complete loose cannon. For example, when he famously snorted crushed up pills during his DJU interview. Then there was the time he seemingly shot his gun towards someone during an Instagram live, as well as openly bragging about how he was robbing people for their designer watches.
Hey, Lil Jeff, you should take this picture. I was about to have, oh, weeds. I got blood on them diamonds and I still wore it. This like it's part of my tattoo. They don't know if that's a tattoo or real. Nah, they ain't no.
To compare Lil Jeff to King Von is guaranteed to anger some people, and by no means was Jeff's star power or rapping abilities anywhere near that of Von's. But then again, Von also had support from the biggest artist to ever rise from the drill scene, Lil Durk, and he was several years older than Jeff when his rap career took off. Furthermore, Von had already been in the streets for close to a decade, forming the reputation that would eventually help him to become the boogeyman of Chicago drill that he ended up being, as well as being an undeniable legend in the rap game following his untimely death in November 2020. Jeff, on the other hand, was still by all accounts very much still in the streets whilst he was trying to find his voice and talent on the mic. While Jeff's rapping style was controversial and divisive amongst fans of Chicago drill, there's no denying that Lil Jeff was evolving musically and becoming more and more comfortable in using his rather unique high-pitched voice that kind of made him sound like the real-life Joker of Chirac. Unfortunately, we'll never know what might have come from his music career because, as most drill fans know by now, on the 8th of June 2024, Lil Jeff was gunned down in the south side of Chicago, only about a half-a-mile walk from the notorious Parkway Gardens public housing complex, aka O-Block, that King Von was known to rep. And, as always seems to be guaranteed these days, Lil Jeff's demise and the shootout that led up to it was all captured on surveillance footage, even going viral within the drill community just after it happened. But it was not just the fact that Lil Jeff was killed that made his story blow up beyond the drill audience, but more so how he died. As when that surveillance video leaked soon after the news of his passing, the world saw a masked up Lil Jeff getting shot down as he was literally trying to chase another man into his house whilst wildly shooting in his direction, something that he'd even claimed to have done before in several songs. After Lil Jeff's death, the media attention around him would blow up, with even more mainstream rap media platforms like No Jumper, who had previously not reported on him, including him in their content several times. Meanwhile, the twisted online detectives of the Chiracology subreddit were going into overdrive, and in the days following Jeff's death, dozens and dozens of new threads and comments from his fans and haters would fill the platform, with the most devoted Lil Jeff-ologists eventually even starting their very own subreddit to exclusively discuss and declare their devotion to their new king of drill. There were almost comical posts where Lil Jeff-ologists shared their grief, explaining how they were having sleepless nights and depression in the 24 hours following Jeff's death. These twisted posts would explain how the loss of their new favorite demonic rapper had been a personal blow, and how despite the alleged 11 murders to his name, they felt a personal connection to this flawed individual, and how his killer aura had resonated with so many. Soon would come updates, as fans posted saying that it had been 1 week since Jeff's death, and the devastation hadn't gotten easier, with this user explaining that he wants to drill himself so he can be with Lord Jeff, and asking other users if they have tips on how to grieve. Another update landed on day 12, as the user explained that he'd been saying Jeff's name in the mirror to try and bring him back, and explaining how he can still feel Jeff's presence around him, and that he's been seeing Jeff's reflection flashing wads of money at him in store windows. Now, all of this goes to show you the bizarre and twisted level of fandom that Chicago drill has really reached, with this adoration of Jeff even topping some of the most extreme King Von glazing that's been observed online. Chicago drill is truly the juncture where internet fandom meets music meets real-life true crime. and where the very people actually involved in that life are getting killed by the hundreds every year. And when it comes to this combination of music and true crime, the story of Lil Jeff is surely up there with some of the wildest to come out of the drill scene in recent years. But Lil Jeff's story is still one shrouded in mystery, because while Jeff was certainly no stranger to letting the world know about his reckless escapades in the dangerous streets of Chicago, he was also a fairly new face in the scene who seemingly appeared out of nowhere just a few years ago, which makes his claims to have double-digit bodies under his belt sound particularly outrageous, making many fans of Chicago drill to quickly reject these claims as obviously false. Moreover, Lil Jeff hails from an area that's previously received only limited coverage in media focused on the drill culture. So in this video, we're trying to give the most in-depth look into the life and the music career of Bloodhound Lil Jeff so far, and try and determine, with all of the information available publicly today, was Bloodhound Lil Jeff really a street demon with 11 murders to his name, or just a wannabe serial killer on social media who effed around and found out?
Residents say they're fed up with violence like the weekend's mass shooting, and they're taking back the streets. On Saturday, it was a different scene on 75th Street in Chatham, where one person was shot and killed, 9 others wounded.
Outside their school, with homemade signs demanding peace, they gathered.
We gonna rock with it, roll with it.
We're only 17, 18 years old, and we losing our lives at a young age.
Man, we do this shit, man, every day, man. Drill City, we out here, man.
On one of the most violent streets in the city, 79th Street, artist and activist Common lends his support and voice to lift up this Chatham neighborhood.
Yeah, you see them bandanas, that mean we Bloodhounds.
So can you tell us like who introduced you to the street life?
My brother.
Your older brother, right?
Looking at us, bro. Bloodhounds. Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are many families who are suffering.
So you would say you've experienced some trauma growing up in these streets of Chicago. Cause how old was you when Chief Keef came out? Like,
I was in 3rd grade.
Cause they said Bloodhound Lil Jeff got 10 bodies.
I ain't gonna lie, my homie dad is on my face sheets right here.
See money?
Yeah.
And how did this death affect your mentality, brother?
These man. All I see is reggae.
About the type of lifestyle that Von led, everybody consider him the top savage of the rap. Was that something you looked up to?
Yeah, that's him, I'm me. Hey, y'all, listen to this real quick. Let me know what y'all hear. This smoke with the whole rack. Whoever want it, we giving it out on my dead grave. Summertime finna be a black.
Cause we live in a time right now where like a lot of rappers actually live the life they say, whether it's like trapping or anything.
16-year-old Robert Boston and 17-year-old Monterio Williams were gunned down.
Chicago police investigating a fatal shooting yesterday evening. 19-year-old Jaleel Goins was pronounced dead at Rush University Medical Center.
Go ask my ops that might go Drake his ass and get out that cop.
So when y'all like in the booth and all that, how do y'all stay away from like even incriminating lyrics?
I went black for like a week and poof. So after that one, poof. I came back, poof.
So Bloodhound, 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 Bloodhound.
Bloodhound, Bloodhound, YB, Bloodhound, Bloodhound.
Lil Jeff, real name Jeffrey Lamar Harris, was born on the 14th of July 2002, getting named after his father, who shares the exact same name. Jeff's family has seemingly mostly lived around the same area, the east side of Chicago.
Bloodhound Lil Jeff story today. Can you start by telling us where you from?
Chicago, North, east side of Chicago. East side of Chicago.
East side.
Yeah.
However, this east side is not to be confused with the official east side, which is one of the 77 community areas of Chicago located in the far south side of the city. The unofficial east side, on the other hand, which is where Lil Jeff grew up, is mainly part of the Chicago folklore, and thus its exact borders are often heavily debated by locals, with many even arguing that everything in the south side, from State Street all the way to Lake Michigan, actually counts as the east side, which would even include hoods like the infamous O-Block and their main rivals STL EBT and Jaro City. And on the other side of the Washington Park, also hoods like Tay Savage's Welch World. Yet these hoods are typically not discussed as being part of the east side, but rather simply being part of the south side, as in the case of O-Block, STL, and Jaro, or more specifically in the case of Welch World, part of the so-called Low End, another area that's a deep part of Chicago folklore, which roughly covers the area on the south side from the state to the lake north of Washington Park. In the drill culture specifically, the east side has become particularly known for hoods that exist roughly south of 67th Street, with this street and the two huge green spaces, the Jackson Park and Oakwood Cemetery, that border the street creating a natural boundary in the north. However, there are also sets on the north side of the 67th Street that claim the east side, such as TYMB and DrillCity, which both rep the 65th Street. While the line of where the east side ends when going westwards from Lake Michigan is much more ambiguous, with the State Street and the I-94 next to it, generally acting as a sort of last cutoff point, in the drill scene, this east side is known particularly for gangs like G Herbo and Lil Bibby's crew NLMB, which is made up of two clicked-up gang sets, No Limit and the Muskegon Boys, with these initials creating the NLMB moniker, which has also been used to stand for Never Leave My Brothers. However, NLMB's hood is located in the South Shore neighborhood, which is located very close to the shores of Lake Michigan, and is infamously known by the locals as Terror Town, a place with a long history for being particularly dangerous. Whereas when it came to Lil Jeff, his family seemed to mostly stay in a much more central area around the Grand Crossing and Chatham community areas, which generally have been much lesser discussed in the drill scene before Lil Jeff's recent blow-up, although the area has seen its fair share of rappers since the early 2010s repping these specific hoods. Now, Lil Jeff's family has long ties to the streets in the area. His father, Jeffrey Harris Sr., allegedly belonged to a street set called 068 C Block, C standing for Champlain Avenue, with their main spot seemingly being on 68th Street and Champlain. To put this location in context, this street corner is only about 0.3 miles from the location where Lil Jeff would eventually lose his life. And while there's not much available about this particular set online, Jeff's father was born in the early 80s, and thus he and his set were likely at their most active around the turn of the millennium and throughout the 2000s. What we do know with some certainty is that Jeff's family were closely connected with the very people that Jeff would later go to war with, including the person alleged by many to have been the one to gun him down, although there's no real evidence at the moment to prove who was the actual triggerman. But what can be said with more certainty is that close to the hood of Jeff's father, there would be another large hood that would end up playing a very large role in the street beefs that Jeff would get involved in. This hood was well known in Chicago even back in the 90s and 2000s when Jeff's dad was more active in the streets, and its history likely even goes much further back than that. Their hood was called the LonCity. For example, in the classic 1996 song by Chicago rapper D.A. Smart titled Walk With Me, he lists several Chicago hoods all around the area, with one of the bars referencing Lakeside, Paxtown, and LonCity, as Smart mentions how both Black Disciples and Gangster Disciples run the two latter hoods. But while Lakeside and Paxtown have more or less stayed intact until this day, at least in name, LonCity would eventually break apart, therefore it's not included in the modern gang maps. However, during the late 90s, in the trial against Larry Hoover, the infamous founder and leader of the Gangster Disciples, or GDs, one of the former members of Hoover's GDs, who turned informant, would give a very detailed description about the LonCity's territory at the time, this territory allegedly covering everything from 78th Street to 83rd Street, and all the way from State Street to Stony Island Avenue. This territory being absolutely enormous by modern Chicago gang standards, however their main spots were seemingly on the 79th Street, such as 79th and Evans, which is just a stone's throw away from the 79th in Maryland that Jeff would later begin to claim. One of the highest ranking GDs of the 90s, called Shorty G, real name Gregory Shell, would even allegedly live in LonCity. Shorty G would also have a prodigy in LonCity called Lil Frank, real name Frank Smith, who would later rise to the top of the leadership of the original GDs before he was given a life sentence in 2023 for allegedly organising a killing of another high-ranking GD member as part of a leadership dispute. Due to its large size, LonCity had likely always had smaller sets working within it, both GD and BD, although the area has seemingly been majority GD. However, coming into the 2010s, LonCity, like most Chicago hoods, had lost the majority of its original structure due to the collapse of the traditional gang hierarchies during the 2000s, which led to the large gangs like the BDs and GDs to break into small neighborhood sets without any central leadership between them. In LonCity, these separate sets were also becoming more independent, particularly 6 sets that were known as 8-Tray Mob, Evans Mob, Hit Squad, Mix Mob, Wiz City, and Drill City, the latter of which would eventually become Lil Jeff's set. According to Chiracologists, these individual sets would eventually break LonCity apart completely due to some of the BD sets backdooring the original GD leaders of LonCity. In the aftermath of this breakup, what's now known as Mix Mob would seemingly keep repping LonCity even after the breakup. Meanwhile, Drill City would seemingly get its name around the same time as the Chicago drill movement was starting. Chicago drill music being the ultra-violent evolution of gangster rap, with beats inspired by Atlanta trap and gritty lyrics all about real crimes that were actually happening in Chicago. With this set having some of the first pioneering drill artists, such as the rapper known as Fat Smack, who is in fact the actual cousin of the rapper Pac-Man, who hailed from the nearby DrillCity hood and is generally considered to have been the original creator of the drill genre before Chief Keef made it famous.
The devil might be real or a magic mystery, but I make you disappear. Poof, history. I know you sick of me, but Mac is the antidote. So if you act fruity, I have to split your cantaloupe.
Hey man, you know this Pac-Man, Mr. DrillCity, I'm not here, man. Hey, I tell him, the coupe looking like a Sunday, a chocolate Maserati. Butter, vanilla, guts, valet pocketed at the party. Yo, on my heels, she was jocking me in the lobby. See the Morby crocodile's pocket watching like she gon' rob me. I swipe for a room, penthouse, we at the W. The had your name on the neck, I know my stomach too.
Already in late 2010, Fat Smack would put out a mixtape titled A Day in Drill City, this being among the first drill projects ever to come out. Drill City is also known as BNC, or Bar None Crazy, which generally refers to them being an insane or renegade gang set. This means that they generally don't adhere to any central structure of a historical gang, like the BDs or GDs, and essentially are willing to go to war with, or kill people that descended from the same original gang as them. It seems that Drill City will first call with another set from the former LonCity called Wiz City or Whisper City, named after a boy called Whisper, aka Wiz, who seemingly died in 2008 from medical complications. Similarly as Drill City being bar none, Wiz City would be known as Brain Dead. This generally also meaning that they are insane or renegade BDs who again don't abide by any centralized BD leadership and are willing to go to war with other BDs. In the very early 2010s, Wiz City was seemingly already beefing hard with several of the former LonCity sets, including Evans Mob, Mix Mob, and 8 Trey Mob.
Hey man, so I just want to talk about that Mix Mob thing, man. It's getting ridiculous, man, for real. On some real shit, man. That shit getting ridiculous. First of all, let me say that right there. And there, y'all is here, man. You feel me? Y'all lucky I'm on this house arrest because if I wasn't, what's going down, man? There's big drills on y'all, for real. Old 82nd movement, man. We ain't playing no games.
Boy, Drake, Weird City crazy. Brain Dead, you already know 82nd crazy, boy. Another South, 8 Trey Mob.
Mix Mob!
Mix Mob. All them, boy. We out here Brain Dead crazy, boy. GDK, that fat, boy. See this, let's get it. Fucking get it.
Meanwhile, it appears that Drill City members were originally much more open to linking up with different sets, even ones that were already at war with Wiz City, such as Evans Mob and possibly even Mix Mob, which might be why someone on Reddit presenting them as having lived in the area during the late 2000s and early 2010s describes Drill City as playing sides. Meanwhile, another Redditor claims that Wiz City was getting close with the TYMB set, which is known from the early drill culture for getting shoutouts from the likes of Chief Keef. However, Drill City was beefing with TYMB, and there are even rumors that they killed one of their most loved members in 2012, a young man known in the streets as Obama. Real name Reginald Smith, the 24-year-old was shot and killed in a walk-up style attack on the 6500 block of South Drexel Avenue. The wildest rumors even claim that this killing led to one of the Drill City members getting kidnapped by TYMB before getting released for a 10k ransom. However, the consensus among Chiracologists seems to be that Obama was more likely killed by a member from another set that would become very close with Drill City. But more about that later. In any case, TYMB continues to be one of Drill City's longest ops, which is at least partly why even Lil Jeff would drop a Y sometimes in his music videos and on social media. At the time though, Wiz City's alliance with TYMB would allegedly cause Drill City to separate themselves from them and ally fully with their biggest ops, the Mix Mob instead. This alliance eventually going under the moniker DCMM or Drill City Mix Mob, as represented by Fat Smack and another Drill City member called Leaky in their 2013 song by the same name. And they would also openly claim to be Wiz City K and vice versa, with Wiz City members vowing to K or kill anyone from Mix Mob or Drill City. The war between all these former LonCity sets would only keep escalating in the years to come, and alliances would keep changing over time. But moving forward, Drill City would seemingly also keep certain enemies that stayed the same, such as the majority GD sets, 8 Trey Mob, Evans Mob, and Hit Squad, who have seemingly always stayed relatively united with each other and against Drill City or BNC, as well as the Brain Dead BD set Wiz City and another nearby Brain Dead BD set called MTV 079 or Money Through Vernon.
I heard before, like, you know, all this, like, all the violence started. I heard, like, y'all was everybody, every hood was all in one. Like, y'all used to go by LonCity or the Line. Is that true or not?
Yeah, LonCity is like the whole area.
Like, from Shadow to Apple.
We is Shadow. We is Shadow.
But y'all was a part of y'all hood was a part of LonCity, right? LonCity movement.
Drill City and all that shit.
You know, them though, the other side though now.
I ain't gonna lie.
I ain't saying how it, like, you know, how it happened, but I'll say what year would y'all say all this broke apart?
I ain't gonna lie, folks. 2009, 2010.
2010,
2010, bro. That's when really everybody, like, all them on the other side, they started turning video type of shit.
You know what this is?
A bunch of weird. We was the only GDs. I ain't gonna lie, we was the only GDs. We ain't clicked up with nobody, nothing.
You talking about like for A-Tray and Evans Mob?
They
be saying the shorties BDs too.
Yeah, we got some BDs. For them phones, like, yeah, like, we EBK, we ain't just no everybody ain't GD. Brother BD, we family. We family. We a family.
I was gonna say,
out of these three majority GD sets, Evans Mob is perhaps best known through their early 2010s connection with the infamous Washington Park-based set 600, due to two of their members, 600 Breezy and S-Dot, having a childhood and family connection to this set. Evans Mob is also known for a now classic moment in drill history when two of their members would catch infamous drill rapper Lil Reese from Lamron, aka the Grim Reaper, with this video causing the so-called Lil Reese Poopgate, as people would claim that the video showed visible skid marks on Lil Reese's underwear. A stinky conspiracy in Chicago drill that's been debated for years, and one which fans would eventually go all in on, analysing the patterns of the specific boxers that the Grim Reaper had been wearing that day to eventually debunk the theory and prove that it was all a big poopception all along, as the alleged brown stain actually turned out to just be part of the design of that particular set of boxers. But anyway, A-Tray Mob are a lesser known set to the average drill listener, although they too would have some rappers attempting to come up in the original drill wave, with artists like Don Darius and Murder Mal dropping some early songs that would gather some decent views, such as their 2013 music video for a remix of Lil Durk's song Competition, where one A-Tray member can be seen proudly presenting his shirt which says MTVK, BNCK and WizCity K. Hit Squad on the other hand is perhaps the smallest set out of these three, getting its name after a man called Hits, real name Marlon Dubose, who was killed in 2010, being shot in the head and neck. These are already many sets to keep track of, but ultimately these were just the sets from the original LonCity hood, whilst the story of Lil Jeff also includes numerous sets from nearby the original LonCity, because during the early drill era, while Lil Jeff was still just a young boy with dreams of pro basketball, his big brother Jay Boogie would jump headfirst into the streets, becoming friends with the very people that Jeff would later want to kill so bad that it ended up costing him his own life. For many fans of Lil Jeff, his big brother Jay Boogie is perhaps best known for being the profile picture on Lil Jeff's Instagram account. However, Jay Boogie is almost 5 years older than Jeff and has had a long history by himself in the streets of Chicago, his name being familiar to many of those drill fans who have followed the scene since its inception. Both Boogie and Jeff seemingly spent their early years in the far south side of Chicago in the Burnside neighborhood, more specifically in a hood called Flipside, which reps the 93rd Street, with Jeff attending the CICS elementary school close by on the 95th Street. Boogie, who was at the time also going by the name Young Khalifa, will be close with one of the most loved members of Flipside called Tay, who would unfortunately be killed in August 2014, with Flipside starting to call their hood Tay Block in his honor. However, it seems that before Tay's death, Boogie would seemingly either move more up north, or at least begin to spend more time around the Woodlawn neighborhood, not far from DrillCity's hood, with guys from a set called Chris World. Chris World is named after a 14-year-old boy called Christopher Travis, also known as Lil Chris, who was killed all the way back in 2010 by a man named Cordell Glover, known as Wheezy or Wee Wee, allegedly from the EBT set. Lil Chris was seemingly part of TYMB and can be seen in old pictures with them, and Chris World would then begin as a faction within TYMB, or YMB, meaning Young Money Boys, as the set was known before they would eventually change their name in honor of a dead member called Ty, real name Edric Walker, who was killed a year earlier in 2009 during a particularly violent night where 4 people died in 3 shootings. But while TYMB was primarily repping the 65th Street, Chris World would begin to rep the 66th Street, which Chris had seemingly frequented, even though he would in fact live near the 64th Street. Around this time, TYMB, the newly founded Chris World, and l.a.x, that would later become known as O-Block, were all seemingly pretty close with each other, with their main ops being sets like SDL EBT. However, this would allegedly change when Obama from TYMB was killed in March 2012, with many now seemingly thinking that his killer was a man called Kenny Mack, not to be confused with the Kenny Mack from the FBG Duck murder case, or several other Kenny Macks from different sets all over Chicago. This Kenny Mack was part of Chris World, and by all accounts, one of the central members in that faction. According to some Chiracologists, Obama's death was the result of a dice game gone bad, which would make sense, given that even though witnesses would seemingly describe the killer simply walking up to Obama, he was in fact found dead in a hallway. Others have claimed that the beef between TYMB and Chris World actually goes back way before Obama's murder, with some drill fans claiming that one of TYMB's top rappers, Money Man, was in fact already dissing Chris World in a song together with Obama back in May 2011, with it being suggested that this dissing then led to Obama's death. However, in fact, Money Man appears to be shouting out Chris World just like he shouts out several other people before them, including E-Day from 600 and Boss Sean from l.a.x that would later become known as O-Block, meaning that around this time, the two sets were seemingly still on good terms. But what does seem clear is that the beef between TYMB and Chris World would indeed begin even before Obama's murder. And while there's even a photo of J Boogie himself seemingly throwing up the Y in January 2012, a few months before Obama's death, while hanging with a rapper Bad Habit affiliated with Chris World, already later that same month, a girl affiliated with Chris World would make the post on Facebook saying F the other side, while dissing YMB, aka TYMB, and also shouting out three sets: Chris World, TrapCity, and DrillCity. It appears that even before Obama's murder, TYMB had been beefing particularly hard with another Woodlawn-based set, this set being called TrapCity, also known as Zone 7, with the 7 representing the 67th Street that they would claim, more specifically, the intersection of 67 and Rhodes. This location is only 0.2 miles from the intersection of 67th and Langley that J Boogie would post to his Facebook in September 2012, with this being the first photo that he still has up on his page. TrapCity and TYMB's beef was at this point well established, with beloved members like a 17-year-old named Rio, real name Ryan Gibson, having allegedly also been killed by TYMB in October 2011. TrapCity and TYMB had also been beefing through music, such as the TYMB member B Gutter releasing a diss song towards TrapCity called Gangbang 067K Diss in January 2012, a song where he dissed numerous members and ended the song with an outro sending a clear message to both TrapCity and DrillCity, as well as shouting out TYMB's allies at the time, l.a.x, aka O-Block, Lamron, 600, and Mac Creek, which at the time was a faction that was part of DrillCity. It seems that as early as late 2011, Chris World had been getting increasingly close with TrapCity, in the process cementing their beef with TYMB. Therefore, when Obama was eventually killed in March 2012, TrapCity and Chris World would immediately become one of their targets for revenge. Regardless of who may have been behind the murder, J Boogie and other Chris World members were now in an active war with TYMB, together with TrapCity and also DrillCity, or 06679 as they would call themselves collectively based on their respective streets on the 66th, 67th, and 79th streets. TYMB's revenge for the murder of Obama would allegedly come in August 2012 when TrapCity member Scooter, real name Johnny Howell, was gunned down in TrapCity's hood. Needless to say that going into 2013, the war between TYMB and the 06679 was getting increasingly heated, with TYMB members even making custom shirts where they would exclusively diss these three sets. TYMB would also diss them heavily on the music side, with Money Man releasing a music video in April 2013 with none other than Prince Dre from O-Block, where Prince Dre would shout out Lil Chris while paying tribute to what he called Chris Way, before Money Man would go in dropping a very disrespectful verse dissing DrillCity, including their rapper Fat Smack, as well as rapper Tank Montana, who had been part of the Mix Mob, DrillCity, and the Bloodhounds, and would later change his name to Bloodhound Hothead. Money Man would also essentially admit to TYMB killing Scooter from TrapCity before also dissing Chris World. A few months later in June, B Gutter would also re-release the song 067K Diss, but this time with a music video where he can be seen driving around TrapCity's hood. But unfortunately, things weren't about to just stay online, and only a few months later, in August 2013, 06679 would lose another important member, none other than Kenny Mack from Chris World, real name Kenneth Barber, the very person rumored to have been behind the murder of Obama. A few days later, a photojournalist would capture the scene where Kenny had been killed and where his friends had left him a memorial, with one of the images capturing the tribute messages left for him by his friends, one of these messages saying simply, RIP Kenny, CWBAS, YMCPDK, F Obama. However, unlike so many murders in Chicago, this one would ultimately be solved, as the law enforcement would eventually charge a man named Anthony Bradley, also known in the streets as Capone from DrillCity, more specifically a faction called Snowblock, which were affiliated with TYMB. Capone would end up receiving a massive 55-year sentence, but would eventually be granted a retrial where he would seemingly end up receiving a much shorter 20-year sentence, for which he would end up serving about half, and he's seemingly been released on parole. The killing of Kenny would hit Chris World hard, and the members such as J Boogie have continued keeping his memory alive throughout the years. But the death of Kenny wouldn't only affect the older guys already heavily in the streets, because Lil Jeff himself, who was only 11 years old at the time, would later tell during an Instagram live how he would witness Kenny's murder firsthand, even admitting that this had likely messed his head up.
Long live my nigga Mac, I was there.
Hey, Jug, on my dead grandma phone, you alive?
I damn near shed in a telephone, though. That shit hurt me a little bit. I was like, dang, it's real. Long live Kenny Mac, I was there. I witnessed that. We was about l.a.x. I think ever since then I've been f***ed up. That's probably what it was. I feel like they clapped my homie shit.
Perhaps this was truly the first of many life-altering experiences that would affect a young Lil Jeff, that would ultimately eventually push him towards the life of violence that would end up costing him his life. But 2013 would also mark a moment when the Chris World members, including J Boogie, would end up getting heavily involved in the drill music scene, likely influencing Jeff to do the very same thing, as well as seemingly starting a new clique, a clique that Jeff would also eventually end up joining years later. That clique would of course be the Bloodhounds. Going into 2013, the Chicago drill music scene was reaching its peak, propelled by the immense popularity of Chief Keef. But while other up-and-coming drill artists were largely keeping the similar dark and violent themes that had made the genre popular, both lyrically and sonically, Chief Keef himself, who was now living the good life in the rich suburbs just outside of Chicago, and surrounded by all the lean and loud he could possibly consume, would quickly begin to experiment with his sound, cranking his auto-tune settings to the max, while beginning to add much more melodic elements to his rapping, combined with an often heavy slurring, likely at least partially caused by his increasing consumption of that prescription cough suppressant. Keef would also largely ditch his day one producers during this period, instead accepting beat submissions from random YouTube and SoundCloud producers, many of whom had taken the more upbeat elements from Keef's earlier projects, particularly his debut album Finally Rich, but turning those elements up tenfold. These beats were much more influenced by the late 2000s and early 2010s Atlanta rap and trap music, with artists and groups such as Roscoe Dash, Travis Porter, Young L.A. and J Money, as well as of course Future, with inspiration also being taken from prolific producers from the area like DJ Spins, London on the Track, and KE on the Track. But with a new twist, these beats eventually got the label of futuristic beats amongst fans. While at the time, this era of Chief Keef was extremely criticized by mainstream rap fans, it's now largely considered perhaps his most influential era, playing a large role in making him one of the contenders for the most influential rapper of the 2010s, with this era that his fans tend to call the lean era, together with what would eventually evolve around 2014 into an equally fantastically named era, the Zan era, arguably largely birthing what would become known as mumble rap, as well as playing an enormous role in influencing the flows, rapping styles, and beat choices of later popular artists like Lil Uzi Vert, Playboi Carti, Kodak Black, and countless others. But the reason why Chief Keef's 2013 era is so important to mention here is because by late 2013 and going into 2014 and 2015, the members of Chris World would also end up getting heavily involved in the buzzing Chicago music scene. But unlike the majority of rappers coming out of Chicago at this time, they would attempt to build heavily on this new sound that Chief Keef was creating, even using the same YouTube and SoundCloud producers such as Intel on the beat, who was one of the producers behind Chief Keef's classic that perhaps best describes the lean era, the song Love No Thotties. Another producer who was getting commissioned a lot during this period was the French beat phenom Cash Money AP, who produced numerous songs for Keef and other GBE members during this time. Chris World would do this under the name Finesse Crew, which the Chris World rapper Saw J would present in his solo song titled after the group in September 2013. In the music video, we can see many key members of Chris World, including the main people of the Finesse Crew, including of course Saw J himself, as well as Chief 2 Times, Smooth, Bad Habit, now going by BH, and J Boogie, who incredibly at this point was still only 15 years old. J Boogie would eventually not only appear in these videos, but also participate in the rapping, such as the song BAS, released with a music video in May 2014, and a music video for Finesse Party, which was released in November 2014. J Boogie would release early solo songs, such as his 2014 remix of Bobby Shmurda's Hot N-Word, but for whatever reason, these songs have been now wiped off the internet. Despite most of Finesse Crew's songs being pretty upbeat party anthems, they would also keep rapping their gang sets in their music videos, including in the banger titled Forever Mac and Chris, which was released in June 2015, as well as being seen dropping Wise for TYMB. However, TYMB was taking the dissing once again to another level, as Money Man would release his remix of Lil Durk's Competition titled No Competition in July 2014. Once again, he would get straight to the point, beginning the song by dissing Scooter and Rio, as well as Kenny Mac and Chris World. He would then begin his verse by saying how he blew someone's brain back on the 67th before aiming his diss directly at J Boogie, saying that he better cool, and asking how is he even Chris World when he didn't even know Chris personally, as he had seemingly stayed flipside in 2010 when Chris was killed. Whether or not J Boogie actually knew Chris personally is unclear though, as Boogie himself has seemingly indicated that he did in fact know him, and that he has stayed on 67th since he was a young boy. Money Man would also diss DrillCity and several other members from 06679 and their affiliated sets, such as Lil Ricky from Chris World and Lil Ant from Mix Mob, who was killed in 2013. Perhaps as a response to this song, Finesse Crew would eventually end up making their own dedicated diss track, released released with a music video in May 2015. This song was called simply War, and the beat was a much more standard dark drill anthem. In the song, the Finesse crew rappers go back and forth, spitting bars whilst dissing their ops, particularly TYMB, with Boogie also taking part in the rapping, saying that he's the youngest running things, being now 17 years old, before telling how he's driving through the ops hood with big clips while dropping Ys with both hands. This music video would also have a major cameo from a rapper who was making a lot of noise around this time, having become known a few years earlier for being one of the best friends of a true Chicago drill legend, L.A. Capone. This rapper was JB Bin Laden, who is the first person to appear in the video, he too dropping Ys with both hands. But this was not in fact the first time that JB had made an appearance on a Finesse Crew video, as already in December 2014, he can be seen in their music video for the song Kickstand Lean Boys, together with none other than Boss Top from O-Block, with this possibly reflecting how O-Block had now fallen out with TYMB too. JB is from a BD set called 400 East or 400E, which is directly on the other side of the Interstate 90 from TrapCity and Chris World, with their main block being on the 71st and King Drive. Due to JB's close relationship with L.A. Capone, and L.A. even allegedly living on 400 East Hood with JB for a period of time, the set would even take on the name L.A. Gang in his honor following his death. But it seems that JB had a particularly strong bond with J Boogie, as he would often post and shout him out on social media.
Bow! Smoke your like a blue cigarette. A blue one. Bow!
However, not everyone was happy about people outside of 600 paying tribute to L.A. Capone, and 600 member Blast His Ass, aka Blastum, would in fact call out J Boogie and Chief 2 Times, aka Vontae, for throwing the LA hand sign on social media. But anyway, Chris World and also members like JB from 400 East were still also close with 0679, aka TrapCity, and the DrillCity Alliance, and particularly they were hanging out with members like CJ from DrillCity. Meanwhile, it appears that in DrillCity's hood, a new clique was forming, where guys like CJ were heavily involved in, with the earliest mention about the name seemingly going all the way back to the early 2010s. This clique, of course, being the Bloodhounds. It appears that they were particularly influenced by the early Glory Boys rappers, like pretty much all of Chicago at that point, and would often quote on social media lyrics from rappers like Lil Reese and Gino Marley, mentioning how they were like Bloodhounds. Towards the end of 2015, CJ would even begin to tease what appeared to be a music project titled Bloodhound Savages. Going into 2016, CJ, J Boogie, and JB were seemingly still spending a lot of time together. Also, members from other sets were beginning to claim the Bloodhound clique, such as the members from the MTV 079 set.
Yeah, you see them bandanas, that mean we Bloodhounds.
Yeah.
Ride through with your flag out.
Got the mask on, get your car flipped over.
Video, he just looking at us, we bro. Bloodhounds. Yeah.
Are we Bloodhounds on Vernon too?
As mentioned in an earlier chapter, MTV 079 is a brain-dead BD set that has had a long-running beef with the same sets as DrillCity and TrapCity, namely the historical majority GD sets from LonCity, Evans Mob, A-Tray Mob, and Hit Squad. However, MTV's relationship with DrillCity and TrapCity was a complicated one, as they had seemingly until recently been also cool with the other brain-dead BD set that these two were beefing with, called WizCity. This being likely another example of just how quickly the alliances and beefs were evolving in the area. But in any case, soon the Bloodhound clique was beginning to drop music, just like CJ had teased in late 2015, as in May 2016, they would drop a new song called Vicious, featuring the rappers MTV Cash from MTV 079, Hothead from DrillCity, formerly Tank Montana from Mix Mob, and Drezzy Bands from DrillCity, and in the chorus, labeling themselves as the Bloodhound villains. Some months later, in October 2016, Hothead would drop a song with a music video titled simply Bloodhound, where he warns his ops that if they're on any type of BS, they're going to die, and that he's a bloodhound and he wants his money dirty, like blood money. Around this time, J Boogie was now also repping the Bloodhound crew commonly on his social media, and going into 2017, the clique was beginning to gain increasing momentum, culminating in their biggest song at that point, the song Bloodhounds, released with a music video in April, which at the time was the song featuring the most Bloodhound-affiliated rappers, including CJ from DrillCity, JB Bin Laden from 400 East, Hothead from DrillCity, and MTV Chino and MTV Cash from MTV 079. The song is a pure Bloodhound anthem, mixed in with a very dark drill beat, with CJ beginning the song by rapping how the Bloodhounds are making noise in the streets and that he's not talking about the music. JB comes in by also repping Bloodhound from the start, followed by Hothead, who raps how the ops know that the Bloodhounds are the ones sending shots and the killing won't stop. MTV Chino then begins his verse with a much more pointed diss aimed likely at either the A-Tray Mob or the Evans Mob, or both, as well as dissing Brick Squad 069, made famous by late rapper Lil Jojo, who was seemingly close with the A-Tray Mob at the time.
A-Tray Mob,
Say it for me, bro. On the motherfucking eye.
Oh, here, say, man, we out here, man.
The song is ended by MTV Cash, who implies that others are trying to claim the name Bloodhound, but they are the real Bloodhounds. Also, J Boogie is in a visible role in the music video where he's often shown toting his gun with a laser beam, and at the very end of the song, someone who sounds a lot like Boogie even begins to rap a few bars before the song fades out. The Bloodhounds were at this point clearly an established group, seemingly made primarily out of members from DrillCity, Chris World, 400 East, and MTV 079. But while they were for a time being putting out quality music, it was clear from their raps that they were also staying very busy in the streets. Meanwhile, Lil Jeff had gotten to about high school age, still holding on to his dream of becoming a professional basketball player, with his 2017 sophomore team even seemingly winning some tournaments. Unfortunately though, it would appear that the next year his dream would come crashing down, as Jeff would not make it to his high school's varsity team. He would later talk about this during his DJU interview, saying how not making the team made him realize just how real life is, and that he had no idea what he would do after.
So all this is brand new. This is a brand new life you living, Lil Jeff, because you 21 now.
It ain't, folk.
So I wonder what you was doing at 16.
I was 16. Around that time,
you was doing the Soldier Boy.
I was trying to play basketball, but that's around the time I ain't make the varsity team. So at 16 was when I was realizing this shit real. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. Cause you know, after that point, it's like once you don't make that team, it's over.
It seems that this was likely the moment when Jeff's life would truly begin to take a new direction, and with his previously desired career path now falling off track, he was looking for a new future. Jeff would still graduate from high school in 2020, with his mum throwing him a fancy graduation party, but Jeff wasn't about to head to university to chase an ordinary career. Instead, it seems that he would end up following in the footsteps of his big brother, and soon he would begin showing up in the streets, raising hell with the rest of the Bloodhounds. Coming into the 2020s, J Boogie and the rest of the Bloodhounds would keep repping their new clique in their music, such as the May 2020 music video for the song Go by Boogie, JB, and another DrillCity rapper called Lil Vic, where Boogie first raps that he has only been out for 60 days but has already ran his paper back up, with this likely referring to his 2017 arrest on numerous charges, the most serious one being UUW, or unlawful use of a weapon, for which he would end up receiving a 4-year sentence. He would then mention the Bloodhounds, saying that they will come and get anyone for the right bag, all while the members would be flexing big bags of vacuum-sealed dope in the music video. JB then steps in and calls the Bloodhounds his family, while flexing a new Bloodhound chain, which is the very same design that Jeff would later rock in his own music videos. Boogie also comes back towards the end, as he compares the Bloodhounds to an army due to the wide selection of guns that they have. The Bloodhounds would also have a new rapper that would begin to drop a bunch of songs around this time too. His name was Bloodhound Z Money, real name Zaire Nelson. In fact, he's actually Lil Jeff's cousin, with some of Jeff's family members from his mother's side commonly liking and commenting on Z Money's family's social media posts. There are also old photos of Z Money from the early 2010s together with J Boogie and the mother of Jeff and Boogie. In a music video by Z Money dropped in December 2020, Z Money can be seen hanging out with J Boogie, flexing big guns and stacks of cash. Unfortunately, not long before this video dropped, Boogie would get in trouble with the law once again in August 2020, when he was seemingly arrested twice on numerous charges, including possession of a stolen vehicle and once again UUW. This would once again see J Boogie doing another long bid in prison, with his projected parole date now being in 2027. Meanwhile, the new generation of DrillCity, TrapCity, and Chris World members were also reaching adulthood. One of these kids being the Bloodhound rapper Vert, or Rel Vert, who seemingly spent much of his childhood in these neighborhoods. In fact, his and his old friend's social media accounts still have plenty of pictures left from around that time period, and in these pictures, a young Vert can be seen dropping the Ys, likely once again for TYMB, whilst also throwing what seems to be either a 6 or a B hand sign, perhaps either as a homage to 66th Street, meaning TrapCity or Chris World, or for Barnum, that DrillCity rep. Or the B may possibly even represent the Bloodhounds, which at this time were already a major thing amongst many of the older members from the area, who were using this very same hand sign. Now, Vert is slightly older than Jeff, and he would also begin his rap career a few years before him, for example his music video for a song called Next Song Remix, dropping in early 2019. The music video begins with Vert saying that they are posted up on the 79th, meaning DrillCity's hood, before once again dropping Ys and throwing the 6 or B hand sign.
Hey, you know how the fuck you come here?
Freedom members, man. You know I'm coming here.
Oh,
7 now, you know we in this man. Gang. Yeah.
Oh, a lot of that.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of that.
He then begins his verse by saying how he's posted on the 9 and sometimes on the 6, meaning that he hangs out in both DrillCity's hood and TrapCity or Chris World's hood. While it appears that Vert was mostly repping DrillCity, he would also be very close with TrapCity members, as can be seen from his 21st birthday vlog in 2022, where he hangs out in TrapCity's hood, with this video being eerily posted exactly 2 years before Jeff's death in that very same hood. More specifically, Vert is hanging in the video near 67th and Evans. Heights, while Jeff would be killed near 67th and Rhodes, only about a 0.3-mile walk away. Vert would also explain in his early 2022 interview with Truth Teller TV that he was both DrillCity and TrapCity.
I'm from 67 TrapCity and 79 DrillCity. My name L'Oreal Vert, man.
Meanwhile, during the late 2010s, another main rapper from the new generation of Bloodhounds, who is also a cousin of Jeff and Z-Money, Q50, was still attending high school, eventually graduating in 2022. Jeff, on the other hand, was still largely absent from any social media activity concerning DrillCity or Bloodhounds coming into the 2020s, with one of his first appearances seemingly being in a late 2021 music video by Z-Money titled Gone MIA, where a 19-year-old Jeff can be seen chilling in the background while his cousin raps, while his other appearance will be soon after in a music video for his brother J Boogie and JB Bin Laden's track titled N-Words Green, where Jeff can be seen next to his big bro smoking big blunts and toting a gun with a drum magazine, showing that at this point he was already likely deep in the streets together with his brother. Coming into the 2020s, it seems that the beefs of the 06679, aka the Chris World, TrapCity and DrillCity alliance, which now included also the Bloodhound clique, were now increasingly beginning to revolve around their oldest enemies, the GD majority sets of the former LonCity, A-Tray Mob, Evans Mob and Hit Squad, which is likely why they were increasingly dropping rakes for the GDs in their music videos instead of the Ys for TYMB like they had primarily done throughout the 2010s. That would have been back when the beef with TYMB was particularly hot, but still, Vert would aim his disses in his September 2020 song No Dissin' squarely at TYMB and A-Tray Mob, saying both Die Y for TYMB and F83rd for A-Tray Mob. However, in his November 2021 remix of Lil Durk's track Piss Me Off, he would rap how it's F the Ops and Young Money, perhaps showing that the beef with TYMB was a much more passive beef now, while the beef with A-Tray Mob, Evans Mob and Hit Squad was much more active at this time. Some months before the release of that song, on the 1st of March 2021, a very respected A-Tray Mob member called Clay, real name Darian Cherry, was sitting in his car in the A-Tray Mob's hood on the 86th Street when another car pulled up next to him and somebody began firing shots from the inside. Clay received a gunshot to the mouth and was transported to the University of Chicago Medical Center in critical condition. Clay would survive the shooting for the time being, but would remain in hospital fighting for his life. One member from the A-Tray Mob who would comment on Clay's situation particularly often was a guy called Lil Crew, real name Nyreek Curtis, who was seemingly a very close friend of Clay. Crew was also an aspiring rapper who had been releasing music since at least 2017. Crew would comment on Facebook the very next day how he wasn't going to say too much, perhaps insinuating that he was going to respond by actions and not with words. However, his later post would also make it clear that Clay's situation was weighing heavily on his mind. Crew would also write about a week after Clay had been shot how they were testing their guns on stop signs because the ops weren't outside. And later, he would comment on how the ops had been on their high horse after Clay had been shot, even though they knew Clay had been sliding on them often. Unfortunately, Clay would eventually succumb to his injuries and pass away in May 2021. And to honor his memory, A-Tray Mob would begin to call their block the Clay Way. Clay's murder has never been solved, but the rumors online have placed the blame on a few different people. One of these, perhaps somewhat surprisingly, being Lil Jeff himself, with some people claiming that this information comes from a reliable source, while others would claim that Clay had in fact been killed by Vert. However, to be absolutely clear, there's seemingly no real evidence to tie either of them to this murder, although they would certainly take part in dissing Clay on social media, and in music, such as on Vert's song Knuck If You Buck that was released on October 2022, where Vert raps how A-Tray Mob thought that Clay's name was ringing in the streets, but now he's irrelevant, as well as dissing another A-Tray Mob member for allegedly getting shot and injured. Unfortunately, Vert and DrillCity were soon about to experience a major loss of their own. During his teenage years, Vert had seemingly been particularly close with a guy from DrillCity called Ruger, real name Jermaine Darden. Unfortunately, Ruger would be gunned down in DrillCity's hood in March 2021, whilst two others were wounded. This would be another devastating loss for the people close to him. Q52 would pay his respects to Ruger right after his death, showing that while he might have been absent at this point from the music videos of guys like Vert, he was very much involved in the street side of things. Like Clay before him, the killing of Ruger would also become yet another unsolved murder in Chicago. However, there has certainly been some interesting posts that have come out after his death, one of these being a post from one of the cousins of Clay, who would say how he'd risked his life to get back for Clay. And then, less than a month after Ruger's death on the 13th of April 2021, at around 7 PM, Lil Crew would be outside of the very same 300 block of 86th Street where Clay had been shot at the beginning of March, when someone would open fire at him, striking him in the chest. Crew would then be taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center, just like Clay had been, but this time the injuries were immediately too critical, and Crew would be pronounced dead soon after arrival. Yet again, the murder of Crew would would go unsolved. But in online spaces, such as Reddit, the Jeffologists themselves, who have been rumored to possess an almost otherworldly ability to see the victims of their demigod and his disciples in their crystal balls, have once again pinned this murder on Vert. Some would even claim that Vert himself had gotten shot in the leg before Crew's murder, which he references in an unreleased song. This possibly even being the same shooting where Ruger would die and 2 others would be injured, one of these 2 then possibly being Vert. Vert would also mention Crew in the song Knuck If You Buck, as well as the rapper Don Darius from 8-Tray, who was one of the early rappers for the set before he was killed in 2013, saying that he can't go out like Don D and that 8-Tray haven't got a get back for Crew and Clay, with at least the implication being that the 06679 were indeed behind the murders of both Crew and Clay. But perhaps the most telling lyrics from Vert are in a lesser known song from early 2022 titled Live or Die by the Chris World rapper Chief 2 Times, now going by the name Big Boss 2 Times, featuring Tero and RB Tasky from TrapCity, as well as Vert, who raps in his verse how it's F8-Tray, before specifically mentioning both Crew and Clay, saying how he got them both lit. Yet others have claimed that Crew was in fact killed by somebody from the Woodlawn set 800, who are known for beefing with numerous sets, including both the Bloodhounds and the 8-Tray mob. However, what is once again clear is that following the murder of Crew, Vert would use many of his songs to send messages that they had in fact gotten get back for Ruger. Firstly, in the beginning of June 2021, Vert would drop a music video for his song titled Play By The Rules, where the video begins with a tribute clip of Ruger dancing to Lil Durk's song No Auto Durk, where Durk raps the famous line, "New op pack in the air, this gas or what?" Then, a few months later, at the end of August 2021, Vert would drop a music video for his song Drill Life, where he raps how he has to kill 10 of his ops for them to feel what he felt, with this likely being another reference to Ruger. This was followed in November with a much more direct claim in Vert's Pissed Me Off remix, with Vert rapping how they got get back for Ruger and how they lost 1, but their ops lost 4. Then, once again, at the end of December 2021, Vert would drop a music video called Gang, together with JB and a rapper called Lil Cap, where they can be seen with a cutout of Ruger, while Vert begins the song by rapping how they cried for Ruger but also slid for him, and that the score is not even, with him implying that they are doing so much damage that their ops are claiming that 06679 is cheating. The dissing would continue in 2022 when Vert would release the music video for his song titled simply Drill, where Vert first repeats a bar of how someone was dissing on their raps but now they can't speak, with this being a possible reference to Crew, before then continuing to pay tribute to Ruger, saying that he's pulling up on his ops block and making them run. And the references to Ruger would just keep coming, with Vert then releasing a music video for his song 21 in June 2022, with this being the music video that they had been filming in TrapCity's hood during the celebration for Vert's 21st birthday. In the song, Vert once again mentions how he cried after Ruger's death, but he had then wiped his tears and gone to sliding, and saying how it's been back-to-back homicides ever since. At this point, it was clear that no matter who had been behind these murders, the war around the east side was getting very heated, and unfortunately, the war wouldn't only continue between the established alliances, such as 8-Tray, Evans, and Hit Squad versus the DrillCity, TrapCity, Chris World, and the Bloodhounds, but it would eventually morph into a deadly civil war within the 06679 alliance. In late 2022, the time would finally come when Lil Jeff, or Bloodhound Lil Jeff, as his artist name would be, begun his rap career, dropping his first song and music video titled The Bloody Family, together with JB Bin Laden, with the name of the song being an obvious reference to his gang in the streets, the Bloodhounds. In his DJU interview, Jeff would attribute the beginning of his music career to Vert, who had encouraged him to start rapping. This part of the interview coinciding with Jeff's right-hand man Q50 chopping up some prescription quality pain medication with a doctor-like focus and precision, showing that while Jeff would later earn the nickname the Pistol Professor, it was Q50 who was truly the Pill Professor. The track Bloody Family would be followed about a month later with Jeff's first solo song titled Can't Beat Us. In these songs, a babyface Jeff raps with a monotone delivery, lacking the high-pitched Joker-style voice that would later become his trademark. And this version of Jeff almost looks like a different person from the charismatic neck-tattooed demon that he would later appear as in his music videos, walking around his hood like he owned the place. Nevertheless, since the beginning, Jeff was rapping like he was really, truly about that life, ending the song Can't Beat Us with an outro monologue where he repeats twice how he's really not a rapper, whilst insinuating that he's actually a killer who just raps because that's what the fans want to see. This was followed in late November with the first collab between Jeff and Vert, a song and music video titled I Love My Draco, and the music video begins with a clip showing a masked up Jeff in traffic, contributing to the image that Jeff and the other young Bloodhounds were actively sliding in the streets in between dropping their songs. This would also be the first video where Jeff would begin to showcase the more high-pitched voice that would later become his trademark, with him giving a little monologue mid-song, dissing his ops, particularly TYMB. Jeff would then begin rapping how his mum prays every day that he makes it back home, but he tells her that he's okay because he's the one doing all the killing, before flipping the script Lil Durk style as he announces how this is all fake and just a song, the insinuation of course being that this is really not just a song. The music video then ends with a scene of JB, Jeff, and Vert calling J Boogie in prison.
Freedom boys, we them boys, man. Folks on the way.
Free J Boogie, man.
Free J Boogie, the camera. Pain. Free Boogie, man.
But coming into 2023, Jeff would keep dropping new music with videos like the song N-Words B12 on March the 23rd, as well as the song Big 3 on April the 3rd, together with Q50 and another Bloodhound rapper, Slimito. In both music videos, Jeff can be seen surrounded by the Bloodhounds, including this time also his cousin Z Money, who is now playing the role of background character whilst giving Jeff all the limelight, as he once again continues to portray his image of a killer, insinuating on N-Words B12 how he'll see people that he's killed in hell. Unfortunately, as these music videos dropped, a tragedy had already stricken Jeff and the Bloodhounds that would completely change the alliances in the area, and ultimately cause the downfall of Lil Jeff. A few years before, in 2020, a bunch of rappers from the 0679 alliance of TrapCity and DrillCity, including RB Tasky, Lil Cap, Vert, and Mooka, will drop a music video for their song titled On Fire. The music video, which was filmed and released by AMF Visuals, who would eventually also become Lil Jeff's manager, is now interestingly unlisted. The music video begins with one of the most random cameos in perhaps all of drill history, with the camera showing King Von's sister, Kayla B, and the late Texas rapper Enchanting, who would sadly pass away in 2024, with both of them hanging out in Trap City's hood. The video also shows guys like Vert hanging out in Trap City, like on the corner of 66th Street, aka Marquette Road, and Rhodes Avenue, while the rapper Mooka raps a bar about how the alliance between Trap City or Chris World and Drill City would never divide. Indeed, coming into 2023, the alliance between Drill City, Trap City, and Chris World, aka 06679, had lasted for over a decade, with these sets seemingly never having any larger qualms during this period. Unfortunately, in 2023, this alliance would finally come crashing down, with one murder shrouded in mystery changing the relationship between these sets irreversibly. On the 7th of February 2023, JB Bin Laden would tweet a cryptic message saying how tables turn, bridges burn, but it is what it is. JB's tweet really could have been about just anything, but what would happen only a month later would certainly make this tweet seem ominous in hindsight, as on the 16th of March 2023, at about 2 p.m, Jeff's cousin Z Money, aka Zaire Nelson, was sitting in his car on the 1300 block of East 79th Street near the intersection of 79th and Kimbark. This location being in the Avalon Park neighborhood, about 0.6 miles east from the main intersection of the Bloodhounds on 79th and Maryland, which is in the Chatham neighborhood. There, another vehicle would reportedly approach Z Money's car in a parking lot of a dry cleaners. Someone from inside that car began opening fire, hitting Z Money multiple times. Z Money would be taken to the University of Chicago Medical Center, where he would unfortunately be pronounced dead. Chi-Town crime chasers would later arrive at the scene to film the aftermath of the shooting, showing the police combing through the scene with numerous shell markers left on the ground. In the comments of the video, Q50's mum would react to the footage, clearly personally affected by the death of Z Money, and the loss of Z Money would be a huge blow for the Bloodhounds, particularly Jeff, as his cousin had likely been like a brother to him in the streets ever since his real brother Boogie had gone to prison. To pay tribute to him, both Jeff and Q50 would get Z Money tattoos on the top of their eyes, as well as a bunch of Z's tattooed on their index finger, aka their trigger fingers. But, as can be imagined, Z Money's death was an even greater loss for his family. In December 2023, a non-profit journalism project called The Trace, which investigates gun violence in America, would actually write a story about Z Money, aka Zaire, and in the piece, they would interview his mother. In this truly heartbreaking piece of journalism, the mother explains how Z Money had been dropped off at the hospital, but according to a doctor, he had been dead on arrival, having been shot over 29 times. The mother would also reveal that Z Money had been waiting for his friend in the parking lot, who had gone to drop off some clothes at the dry cleaners to be tailored. And when the shooters appeared, this made Z Money attempt to run away, but ultimately getting caught by the hail of bullets, with it also being explained that his friend had then arrived and returned fire before fleeing the scene. And that friend was later not willing to speak to the police in fear of getting in trouble with them himself for using his gun. Unsurprisingly, Z Money's murder would once again go unsolved by the Chicago Police Department, leaving his mother even more traumatized, with her explaining in the article that she was tortured by the idea that she might just be walking the streets amongst her son's killer in the local community. The mother's fear was indeed legitimate, because as the rumor goes now, Z Money was allegedly killed by people who were very close to him, more specifically by his old friends from Trap City who had allegedly backdoored Z Money. At the time of the shooting, Z Money's death would be posted in Reddit's drill community Chiracology, but the speculation about the reasons behind his death would only truly begin after Lil Jeff begun making noise in the drill scene, with some claiming that the killing was actually all the result of a girl and a stolen gun, while others completely denied that any backdoor situation or setup had even taken place. However, the case would seemingly get some clarity in July 2024 when members of TrapCity, including TrapCity Rob, Vert's former good friend Tero, who's also a rapper, and OTF Black, who's actually a friend of Lil Durk and a TrapCity OG, would give an interview to the Chicago YouTuber X-Man Rico where they would insinuate that the relationship between TrapCity and DrillCity had actually gone sour over a stolen chain.
Cause the way Reddit, this is why I want the club too. They say his dad from down here, Big J or something like that.
Everybody
Big Jeff.
From around here. Anybody you got.
Also, his daddy is from down here.
Yeah, fuck used to hang with them. They know what they did.
So okay.
They know what they did.
So okay, the Bloodhounds. Y'all was cool.
Everybody that got a.
That was my homie. He stole the chain, bro. We tried like he took it. He stole my homie chain.
Who was that? South J?
Nah, brother. One of the other guys.
This one of the other. This other one.
Folks letting him wear the J. He come back like he got into a high speed with 12. Line saying he lost it. You know what I'm saying? That's how my they look. You know?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
You know Jay Boogie, like
Jay
like
Boogie.
under us, that's our shorty. Like I was in the field of this kid. Like this Lil Jeff brother, like on that. I don't know how this gonna play out.
They say he ain't claiming the hood still.
But he TrapCity.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
like
from.
That's all weird, bro.
And you over Saturday night blood. Like you can't
But we already know TrapCity and DrillCity was the same. Bucky and Water, like that's our family.
Yeah.
So that chain incident really split it up, or was it something else before then?
It was a chain, really. It was a chain, man. They tried to steal a chain. He ain't take it. No, I ain't trying to limit his image. You know what I'm saying? He did
I just feel like
chain, bro.
When it came to like when you on some real, because you know we don't just move on situations. So we just feel like a lot of feel like it was just some dumb chain on my soul. Like from our hood being friendly, let them away your chain. Who does that?
We may never know exactly what took place, but what does seem clear is that following Z-Money's death, the Bloodhounds would cut all ties to their old friends around TrapCity and Chris World. And as Jeff would rap in his feature on another Bloodhound rapper Hotheads, aka Tank Montana's song Still Walking, released in November 2023, losing his cousin would also make him lose his mind, with Jeff's focus from that point onwards seemingly being one thing and one thing alone, a get back that he would allegedly get during the summer of 2023. When it comes to Lil Jeff and his alleged bodies, the rumors and theories tend to range from the absurd, suggesting that he's truly a demon catching all of these bodies, to pretty much complete denial that he ever killed anyone at all. But there's no doubt to me that Jeff was really in these streets though, with several videos circulating on Q50's Instagram years later showing that by 2024, Lil Jeff was indeed a hardened gangster riding around the city, constantly strapped with guns, ready to kill at a moment's notice. However, it would seemingly be a process of several years before he would become the hardened gang member he was known as today. In one of the earliest YouTube videos covering Jeff's alleged bodies, his rumored murder spree stretches all the way back to September 2014, with his first alleged body supposedly being an 18-year-old who went by the name Mally Marl, real name Kamal Burton, who was allegedly affiliated with the A-Tray mob. Although the murder itself would take place in the far south side in the Old Geld Gardens community, at the time Jeff would have barely been a 12-year-old boy, seemingly gifted in basketball. He would have been spending most of his days training for a career in the sport. Also, according to a CPD spokesperson, Marl was approached by two men who then opened fire. The idea of a scrawny 12-year-old Jeff being mistaken for a grown man in this case sounding pretty unlikely. But for further context, even Jeff's own brother Boogie would have still only been 16 years old at the time of Marl's murder, albeit he would arguably always look older than his age. In more time, we'll likely learn much more about Jeff and his younger years as things come out, but when it comes to his deeds in the streets, it's likely much more sensible to take his own account of his childhood seriously. As he would recount in his DJU interview, Jeff would allegedly truly get in the streets quite late in his life, around 2020, this being his last year in high school and graduation.
So around what age did you jump off the porch and start hanging out in the streets?
I'm gonna say when I came outside for real, I was like 18 type.
Okay.
I just turned like 18.
However, this certainly doesn't mean that Jeff's childhood was normal by any of broader society's standards, as Jeff would also open up to DJU, saying that his father was not in his life growing up, as he too, quote-unquote, stood on business. This perhaps being a reference to Jeffrey Harris Sr.'s alleged time in the streets with the 068 C block.
Let's say back then he wasn't around.
Says acting weird as shit. It's bogus. It's cool. Though, man. He be doing what he do.
So how did that affect you back then though? Not having pops around.
OG stood on business, so you know, that shit didn't matter for real.
But moreover, as we know now, Jeff's big brother Jay Boogie had clearly been in the streets since at least the early 2010s, which would seemingly affect Jeff's life and his experiences growing up significantly.
And I'm doing that, I've been seeing my whole life, you know what I'm saying? I told you I got an older brother, so this ain't nothing new for real. It's the same shit I've been seeing. Everything I was doing, I saw already.
One of these significant moments in the young Jeff's life would of course be witnessing the murder of Kenny Mack. Whilst another incident that affected Jeff growing up was his family house getting shot up with one of the bullets, according to Jeff, whizzing by right next to his head.
So can you tell us like who introduced you to the street life?
My brother.
Your older brother, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And how was he showing you the ropes?
Let me tell you, my crib got shot up when I was like 14. I was some stupid ass. The bullet that flew like right past my face. They had shot the back and the front. Then they blew the car and set that on fire. It was busting. I ain't gonna lie, it was going on. That almost hit me, though. See what I'm saying? Though, shit like that play a part. All type of just seeing that shit every day. I was seeing it every day, you know what I'm saying? So like everything I was seeing that shit all the time. Just like I'm doing right now. It's just I'm a part of it now, so it's different.
Now, it's important to remember that while Jeff would seemingly appear in the drill scene almost out of nowhere, he was always the product of his environment, and that environment being one of the most dangerous in the whole of Chicago during the 2010s and beyond. When it comes to Jeff's time in the streets after 2020, when he supposedly got involved with the Bloodhounds heavy through his brother, there's still no shortage of alleged victims that are commonly or less commonly attributed to his supposed double-digit body count, with even the YouTuber who had originally published one of the first supposed body lists of Jeff spinning back with a new video sometime later, this time including only names post-2020. One of the more obscure names on this list of people that Lil Jeff allegedly took the lives of was an alleged member of the crew Hit Squad by the name of Lil Gutter, real name Ronnie L. Sistruk Jr., who would lose his life in 2021 around the same time when the young Bloodhounds such as Vert and Jeff would allegedly be responsible for the deaths of the A-Tray members Clay and crew, with Gutter being shot down on the 13th of May 2021, eerily exactly 1 month after the murder of crew on the 13th of April. Gutter would be caught on the 700 block of 79th Street, this location being a mere 4 minutes walk from the intersection of 79th and Maryland, one of the main spots that Jeff and other Bloodhound members have claimed in their music videos. However, when it comes to any actual proof that Jeff or the Bloodhounds were behind this murder, the evidence seems to be slim to none, with this particular case further muddled by the fact that Hit Squad would have another, much more known member called Gutter too, who would unfortunately also end up losing his life, in this case in 2015, allegedly by the Bloodhound affiliated set MTV 079, whose members have commonly dissed this Gutter over the years too. Another less commonly heard name in this YouTuber's list is an alleged member of the Evans mob called Black, real name Roger Lewis, who was a 33-year-old OG of his block, shot dead in a drive-by whilst driving in March 2022. The only problem with this theory is that Black's alleged killer was in fact charged already the following month in April 2022 and is now serving his sentence for the murder. Also in 2022, Jeff would end up losing someone seemingly very close to him, a man named Jamarian Loston, better known in the streets as J-Mo, who was allegedly part of the 06679 Alliance. There are some rumors that claim that it was this murder that motivated Jeff to catch his first body as revenge, this victim getting allegedly caught outside of a corner store or gas station, as Jeff and other Bloodhounds have implied in several songs. Later on, there would also be some rumors surfacing online that Jeff was supposedly even carrying out contract killings all the way in Milwaukee, with one Chiracologist dropping a picture in the comments of Jeff hanging out with some alleged local gang members from Milwaukee, with this picture being from a music video of the rappers Ghost, 53206, Super Throwed Feifei, and K-Rax called Plenty Missed Calls, released in July 2023. This outfit actually being the very same one that Jeff is wearing in his music video for the song N-Words B12, released on March 2023. In fact, even now, K-Rax still seemingly has Jeff as his profile picture on Instagram, which he likely changed following Jeff's death. Jeff and the other Bloodhounds would also later make several references to doing contract killings and to Milwaukee, with JB Bin Laden rapping in the song Run But Can't Hide that also features Lil Jeff how the Bloodhounds have blood for hire, meaning that they're selling hits too, whilst Jeff himself would also rap in the song LA Freestyle how someone tripped and got killed and how he's in Milwaukee like the NBA team, the Milwaukee Bucks. Q52 would claim in the leaked song BH4L how people know that he has bodies from state to state and that he's clapping people in Milwaukee for money. However, while some people on Reddit swear that this is a fact, there seems to be very little actual proof to back up these claims, and it appears that when it comes to the more plausible rumors, these will begin not long after the death of Z-Money in March 2023, with one of the first alleged victims of Jeff following Z-Money's murder being a young man called Lil Pooh, real name Pierre Boozer Jr., who hailed from Jeff's old stomping grounds, being allegedly part of the Flipside set who repped the 93rd Street. However, Pooh was seemingly well affiliated in the East Side, with his brother allegedly being part of the 95 mob located in the Princeton Park neighborhood, while Pooh was also, according to some, allegedly affiliated with none other than TrapCity, with him even having 067 in his Instagram profile name. However, there's very little to be shown about his affiliations on his social media. To the contrary, there's more to be shown about Pooh's connection with the Bloodhounds, although the reason behind these connections could be either affiliation or rivalry. Whatever the case, at the time of his death, Pooh was seemingly living far away from Flipside, TrapCity, or DrillCity, all the way outside of the borders of Chicago on the 1800 block of 223rd Street in the community of Sauk Village. There, on the 9th of April 2023, a few weeks after the death of Z-Money, police would respond to reports of shots fired and find an unresponsive Pooh laying on the front lawn of his home with multiple gunshot wounds, and his death would soon be ruled a homicide. Unfortunately, it seems that from the beginning, the police had very little to go on to solve Pooh's murder, and they would end up reaching out to the public in the hope that they would receive some clues or witnesses might step forward, but these clues would never seemingly materialize, and this murder remains unsolved. However, in this case, there are several examples of Lil Jeff seemingly claiming responsibility for Pooh's murder. For example, on the 9th of April 2024, the French Chicago drill aficionado Squid Ape would make a tribute post to Pooh on his Instagram, which would quickly gather numerous comments of people laughing at his death, which one commenter would ask what he had done to invoke such a reaction, to which Lil Jeff himself would comment saying that Pooh had been dissing Z-Money. Then, a few days before Jeff's death, an unreleased song of him was leaked online, the song having a bar where Jeff seemingly describes Pooh's death, saying how Pooh had dissed Z-Money and now he's gone, before describing someone waiting for him to come home whilst laying in the grass outside his house. This bar seemingly describing exactly what might have taken place before Pooh's murder. On Reddit, one commenter would point out how Jeff had been hanging out with members from Flipside not long before his death, whilst guessing that this is why the song was never officially released at the time. However, on Jeff's posthumous album Stepping in Blood, this song is indeed included with the title In Your Home. But what makes the matter even more confusing is the fact that one of Pooh's good friends from Flipside would seemingly post an earnest tribute to Jeff following his death. And to make matters even more complicated, Jeff by no means wasn't the only one dissing Pooh after his death. Only a few days before the murder of Pooh, a young man would be killed in the community of Park Forest during an altercation at a house party. Park Forest being only a short drive away from Pooh's Sauk Village community. As it would turn out, the killed man was not just anyone, but an actual blood brother of the infamous rapper in Chicago drill, Wooski, originally from the STL EBT set. His brother, who was called Lowski, real name Ladarius Williams, allegedly belonged to a set called the E-Block, and also apparently was part of a clique called Haddyway, which much like the Bloodhounds, allegedly consists of members from a few different sets and is named after a boy called Haddy who was killed in 2016. This clique having been in a deadly war with JB Bin Laden's 400 East set for years. As the rumor would be, Pooh had allegedly had something to do with Lowski's death, and following Pooh's death, the members of the Haddyway would also seemingly claim to have been behind his murder. Meanwhile, following Jeff's death, Pooh's brother would rejoice on social media, laughing at how everyone who had dissed his brother had ended up getting shot themselves. However, who all these people were besides Jeff was not entirely clear, as it seems that Pooh was a known menace on the east side, as a rapper affiliated with the Mix Mob set called Lou Glocks would say in his tribute to Pooh. This being yet another example that Pooh seemingly had both many affiliations, but also many enemies on the east side. But then, coming into the summer of 2023, Jeff would allegedly catch someone that almost no one would deny being his likely victim. As mentioned earlier, the murder of Z-Money would allegedly break down the decade-plus long affiliations between TrapCity or Chris World and DrillCity, with Jeff and his Bloodhound friends from that point onwards seemingly being consumed by their urge for a get-back for Z-Money. In the song 333, which would seemingly first leak or be unofficially put out by Jeff's team some weeks before his death, the track would officially be released on the 14th of July with a music video that was filmed while Jeff was still alive. In the song, Jeff raps a bar about the Bloodhounds shooting so much on the Rhodes Avenue that their ops had to shut their trap down. This bar likely referring particularly to the Rhodes Avenue roughly between the 66th and 68th streets, which is one of the main areas of TrapCity or Chris World. Indeed, looking at sources like Chicago's Spot News, who follow the CPD's police radio traffic, there would be numerous times that gunshots would be reported around that area during the summer and fall of 2023. In fact, in his February 2024 song called Striker, Jeff even specifically implies that they are the reason why TrapCity's hood is so often on Spot News. However, the alleged get-back for Z-Money would surprisingly take place far away from the hood of TrapCity. On the 25th of June, at around 8:55 PM, TrapCity member called Leal, real name Jaleel Goins, will be sitting in a parked rideshare car in the Little Italy neighborhood near the University of Illinois Chicago campus. This neighborhood, sometimes now called Little Italy or University Village, is these days a truly upmarket neighborhood that's experienced high levels of gentrification since its inception as the home of many of Chicago's first Italian immigrants, and the demolition of all the large public housing complexes during the 2000s. By all accounts, this is one of the safest neighborhoods in Chicago and one of the last places where one should expect to be a victim of gun violence. Nevertheless, while Leal was sitting in his rideshare car on the 1300 block of West Taylor Street, someone would approach the car on foot and open fire through the rear passenger window, shooting inside the car numerous times before running away. The rideshare driver would immediately take off and drive the seriously wounded Leal to the nearest hospital, which was less than a mile away, but by that time, it would already be too late and Leal would be pronounced dead upon arriving at the hospital. The local ABC 7 News will be at the scene later that night and the next morning, interviewing the locals who had witnessed the shooting, with one of them explaining how the police may have counted 8 shots on the car window, but she claimed to have heard more than 20. This perhaps said something about the type of gun that was used in the shooting.
Well, as you know, these are very busy sidewalks. Here in Little Italy, you often have people walking to restaurants, bars, and stores, and last night was no different. Unfortunately, a young man lost his life, and a young man who is very well connected to an organization that many people in Chicago and across the country are familiar with, Project Hood. This evening, a statement from the founder about condolences and their recommitment to the work they do.
Chicago police investigating a fatal shooting yesterday evening. 19-year-old Jaleel Goins was pronounced dead at Rush University Medical Center, but police and nearby residents tell us the incident began in the 1300 block of West Taylor Street, where Goins was a passenger in a rideshare and was shot. Then the rideshare driver drove Goins to the hospital.
I knew it was shots, and like I said, I was in my bedroom, and I kind of ran like on the side of my bedroom, on the other side of the wall, because, you know, bullets don't have eyes.
I thought that was it.
This woman was outside to meet someone. She tells me she was looking down at her phone, then heard the shots. She thought she had been shot, but she had not.
I'm down there on the ground crying and shaking and stuff. Pow, pow, pow. They said it was like 8 shots. No, I believe it was more than 20.
Pastor Corey Brooks confirms Goins was the son of an employee at Project Hood, releasing a statement saying in part, "Today, we are not just an organization. We are a family mourning the loss of a young life taken far too soon."
I'm still processing it because I'm still shaking.
It's scary. You know, we should be able to walk out our door, walk to get something to eat, walk to get the newspaper. Stuff is happening everywhere, but something definitely needs to be done about the crime.
Pastor Brooks tells us that Goins was a son of their executive assistant as well as a brother of their youth manager. In his statement, he went on to say, "This reminds us of the need to stand together against gun violence." As for the investigation, Chicago police tell us at this point, no one in custody, no motive.
Following the incident, the rideshare driver too would open up about his traumatic experience, explaining how Lil had likely passed away already during the short drive to the hospital.
The rideshare driver whose passenger was shot to death in his car near UIC is opening up about the traumatic experience. 19-year-old Jaleel Goins was shot after getting into Robert Smith's car on Sunday night. Smith says he hit the gas when someone standing outside of the car started shooting. He rushed Goins to the hospital where he was pronounced dead.
I was running stop signs and intersections to get away. So at one intersection I had to stop because there was a car coming through, and then I turned to him to say, "Hey, I'm going to take you to the hospital." And he said, "Okay." Then the next time I stopped, I had to stop at a light because there was 2 cars coming through the intersection, so I couldn't run it immediately. I looked back then and, he wasn't moving anymore.
Police have not made any arrests in this shooting.
The very next day, on the 26th of June, Jeff, together with JB and Q50, would drop their remix to Lil Yachty's popular track Coffin, reusing the beat and making their own version of the song with the same name. The song and music video had obviously been made a long time before Lil's death, but the timing of the drop is still pretty interesting given the title of this track, Coffin. And the music video for Coffin begins with Q50 showing an old video of Z Money to the camera as the title of the song is placed on top of it, and the video ends with Q50 making a Z hand sign to the camera, showing that the death of Z Money was certainly playing a major role in their lives at this point. While in the lyrics, Lil Jeff largely continues his usual antics, talking about toting switches and Dracos and killing his ops with face shots, as well as saying how their ops are sneak dissing and throwing subliminals, before ending his verse by saying how he might rob a rapper next while showing 2 bust-down watches fully flooded with diamonds on his arm. The implication seemingly being that Jeff was already deep in his habit of robbing people of their watches at this point, with him even rapping that he might rob a rapper that just signed a record deal. And for the record, these watches are serious licks. These aren't vintage Datejust we're talking about. The 2 watches being shown off in this video are serious pieces. One is an iced out Rolex Day-Date, which would be worth at least $33,000 if real, and the other appears to be a fully iced out Audemars Piguet Royal Oak chronograph with Arabic numerals. Now, I'm not saying that this watch is definitely fake, but I did do a lot of digging and I couldn't find a single listing for an AP in 2-tone with the same dial layout and the Arabic numerals like the one Jeff's wearing in this video. Like, I couldn't find one at all. It doesn't exist. But I did find very similar configurations to the watch that Jeff's wearing, going for around $50,000 to $70,000. Perhaps it's an AP that's been customized, or perhaps it's fake, as I did find a very similar looking fake one for less than $600. But anyway, after dropping the song Coffin, Jeff would take a few months long hiatus from dropping new music, but he would still remain active on social media. During one Instagram live from this period that's still available online, Jeff describes how they are the reason their ops are dead or in a wheelchair, before Q50 notices someone who appears to be from TrapCity commenting on the live how Jeff and Q50 are sharing the same Marnie mask, to which Q50 reacts by beginning to clap his hands, while putting on a smile that can only be described as devious, giving Jeff a run for his money for the #1 Joker of Chirac.
The other day in a wheelchair, they got shot or they brought a man.
Hey, who you talking about, boy? Hey. We was just talking on the phone. We was just cool. So who the fuck you talking about?
They said we sharing a Marnie mask. So first grade, we just had a mask that we, that's the hat.
What the fuck is that? That's a hat.
It's just like this.
The clapping of hands would eventually become somewhat of a trademark for Q50 when referring to killing ops or getting back for Z-Money.
Y'all move out here. Everybody probably see y'all got the Z-Money tattoo on your face. It's probably real noticeable.
You know that. You see, that's that related. That's that get back for my man. That's that get back for my man. That's that get back for my man.
Y'all basically let us know who that is too. We see y'all keep his name alive every chance y'all get.
That's cuz. That's our cousin, folks. Yeah, folks cousin.
You see, folks them see us.
Real sandbox, baby.
Does know like the impact he had on the hood that he.
You see a tattoo on my face. You see.
Hey, look, relentless. His brothers. That's like that. Look. The same I cried about, you know.
Anyway, more TrapCity members would soon enter the chat, aiming their disses particularly at Q50, saying how he just came outside in 2020, and pointing out that he has Z-Money tatted on his face but hasn't even known him for over 5 years, as well as saying that he used to be just a gamer, to which Q50 would once again respond simply by clapping at the camera.
Hey, why do niggas talk about niggas running? For ain't no ever have you running, folks. Hey, look though, folks. They got no money on racks, man. Hey, hold on. Even if folks came outside yesterday, guess what?
What they say? I can't see no.
A lot of niggas ain't even gonna bounce.
That's a compliment. Alright, the comments. They said Quill just came outside, got that man on my dick, on my L's. Come on now. On first grade, I've been just
Hey, L's, yo, just start doing.
This back and forth would only intensify, with Vert now addressing TrapCity explicitly, while Q50 would reminisce about the times that he allegedly made TrapCity members run, before the discussion would eventually turn to Lil, with Jeff saying how he can't even smoke with you if you don't smoke Lil.
I wasn't even talking about them good. They had some goofy to me now, because I wasn't even talking about them. I ain't even said nothing about 67. They had some straight peons from me. They did it themselves. I wasn't even talking about them. They came trying to come into my life and be funny. Yeah, folks used to ride horses. Why you talking about some this, that? You know all that. I see where it is. What it is, what is that? 80 of them want to be so cool with 67, and that's what it is. I see that. Oh, man.
They say I woke up, started spinning. That's like, you know what I'm saying? That's a compliment. Hey, Ills, on my dear grandmother's grave, please go stand on your block right now and I'll finish you just like I did. You know?
Yeah.
So, folks, can we get half that list lad today?
Off that Leo? You don't want to smoke Lil, I ain't trying to match. I ain't gonna lie.
Let's play a new.
If you ain't smoking my eyes, I can't smoke your eyes.
Then, after taking almost half a year break from dropping new music, Jeff would come out with a new song and music video together with Vert in late December 2023, a track titled Stretched. In the song, Jeff ends his verse by rapping how he caught one of his ops in a bowl, this more specifically meaning a fishbowl, which is a reference to somebody being caught in a car with windows that are not tinted, making them an easy target, with this obviously seeming like a clear reference to the fact that Lil was caught in a parked rideshare car. Jeff would later make the same fishbowl reference during one of his IG lives, saying how he's trying to catch a shark in a shark tank.
I caught it in a fishbowl. Trying to see if you would catch a big shark in a fish tank.
And a few months later, in March 2024, the TrapCity and Lil dissing would continue as Jeff and Vert released a song and music video titled FTO, a common abbreviation for F the Ops. And on the song, Vert first raps how his old friends have become his ops now, before Jeff comes in, starting his verse with a wild opening line, saying that he left 7 people dead in his city, and this time dissing Lil by name, saying how he's not giving any passes and anyone lacking is getting smoked. before saying how they're smoking on a Lil pack. Later that same month, Jeff and JB Bin Laden would release their song and music video titled Run But Can't Hide, where Jeff raps just like Vert in the previous song that he's now beefing with guys that he used to be so close with and that they used to sleep in the same bed. This would be almost word for word the same thing that Jeff's mother would allegedly tell him in a text message, where she appeared to praise him for the murders he was doing in the streets and appearing to be in awe of her son's violent reputation, saying, "Go ahead, son, your name ringing bells in the streets." I said, "Is that my boy?" And going on to say that she loves to see him sliding on the kids who slept in the same bed as him as a child. With this old Instagram story from Jeff showing their supposed text exchange with his mother going viral after his death and even getting reactions from channels like No Jumper. Dissing Lil and TrapCity had now become a common occurrence in the Bloodhounds music and would continue like clockwork. In the song No Tomorrow by Q50, Jeff and a rapper called FG Red dropped with a music video in April 2024. Q50 raps how he calls the last dead op from the 67th, aka TrapCity, an Uber pack. And this was once again followed by that same month with Jeff's solo song Tony Montana, where Jeff raps how they're killing their ops while the ops are throwing up L's. This once again seemingly being a direct reference to Lil, as Jeff and the Bloodhounds would also make it their habit following the death of Lil to drop L's as a diss to him. In the song 333 by Lil Jeff, Q50, and the honorary Bloodhound member Lil Scoom from a set called The Burly Boys, that would first appear online in May 2024, but would later be released after Jeff's death together with a music video. Jeff would once again seemingly reference catching Lil inside of a car, saying how Lil saw him and realized he was stuck. Even after his death, new songs would keep coming out, where Jeff references catching someone in a drive-share car, such as one song that was aptly titled Lift, that seemingly leaked shortly after his death, where Jeff raps how he makes his ops disappear like magic and that somebody shouldn't have been driving in that lift. Jeff himself would also acknowledge that he was dissing Lil in almost every song on his posthumous album, Stepping in Blood, on the song In Your Home. There's also some rumors that Q50 had in fact gotten shot in the leg not long before the murder of Lil, possibly by TrapCity, with Jeff and Q50 sometimes seemingly referencing this in their songs. Meanwhile, TrapCity members were mourning their loss, with even respected older members like OTF Black and TrapCity Rob changing their Facebook profile pictures to pictures of Lil soon after his death. However, the death of Lil would also hit very close to home for even Jeff himself, due to his father being from the area that's now part of TrapCity. And following his passing, many people who were seemingly close to Jeff's father would post their tributes to Lil. The rapper Tero, who used to be close with Vert before the beef between DrillCity and TrapCity, would also make a tribute to Lil in late 2023, saying how he wished he could get him back, to which Jeff would troll Tero by liking the post with an emoji that's hugging a heart. No wonder then that the very next day, Tero would repost another picture of him with Lil, this time with a message implying that the next year, the Bloodhounds were going to go extinct. This post, now seemingly eerily prophetic, giving what would indeed take place in 2024. But before 2023 would come to a close, two other people would lose their lives under mysterious circumstances, with these two becoming the latest victims of Lil Jeff, according to online rumors. In the early morning hours of November the 1st, 2023, a man and a woman were inside a parked car on the 8300 block of South Dorchester Avenue, which is in Mixed Mob's hood. These two were known in the streets as Lil Deuce, real name Donardo Buford, allegedly from a set called Foster Park, located in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood, located in the far south side. And he was with an infamous female gangster known as D Money, real name Desiree McGee, who is allegedly affiliated with numerous sets, including the infamous Woodlawn sets like STL EBT, Gyro City, and Taekwon World, as well as the E-Block Hardaway set from the east side that Wooski's brother Lowski was part of. While the two were sitting in the vehicle, the car was reportedly approached by two suspects who would open fire on D Money and Lil Deuce, shooting D Money once whilst hitting Deuce multiple times in the chest, with both of them being transported to the University of Chicago Medical Center, where they would unfortunately both be pronounced dead.
We're told it was around 12:39 Wednesday morning when a 19-year-old man and a 25-year-old woman were sitting inside of a parked vehicle. Police are saying the two suspects fired shots hitting the 19-year-old man multiple times in his chest. The 25-year-old woman was shot once in her torso. Both were taken to UFC emergency room where they were pronounced dead. As of right now, no one is in custody, but Area 3 detectives are now investigating this. If you have any information that could lead to an arrest, police would like you to contact them immediately. For now, we're here in the Mary Nook neighborhood. I'm Glenn Marshall, WGN News.
This is another one of the rumors regarding Jeff's alleged body count that seems to have very little proof going for it, and many drill fans on places like Reddit and Chiracology have seemed either confused about this rumor or have straight up denied it, with one of the few pieces of evidence used to justify this claim being a post made by Jeff on April 2024 when he would quote an unreleased King Von song whilst adding 10 emojis after the lyrics, with many fans considering this as Jeff literally listing all 10 of his supposed victims, with number 7 of the emojis being a so-called woman's hat emoji. this emoji then supposedly being a reference to D-Money. Interestingly, Jeff would actually seemingly go back and edit this caption, switching the hat emoji to a princess emoji, making it even more obvious that he was indeed seemingly referring to a female victim. The so-called rescue worker's helmet emoji next to it, on the other hand, is much more open for interpretation, with one possible option being that the emoji's red color actually refers to the Black Pea Stones, who were known to rep the color red, with Foster Park, where Lil Deuce was from, actually being a Black Pea Stone stronghold. Or alternatively, Deuce could be symbolized by the crown emoji on either side of the princess emoji, crown being one of the symbols used by the People's Nation gang alliance that the Black Pea Stones belongs to. In fact, in a tribute video for Lil Deuce posted on his Instagram story after his death, his family can be seen putting crown decorations on top of a cake for his 20th birthday. Following the death of D-Money, Jeff would also boast on social media how the Bloodhounds were killing everyone, including women and kids.
Hey, Lil Fredo, what you on, Lil Cuz? I still love you, folk, but it's like my little brother feel how he feel, and I'm around with him right or wrong or dead wrong, you know that. So it is what it is, folk. I wish y'all the best of luck, but we do spank ass, and you know this personally. For real, we really kill kids, bitch. If it get to that point, it'll make me mad enough, mamas will start getting all type of my shit known, right? My shit really up, them purse fuck with my head, face ass, neck ass, back ass.
It's also worth noting that D-Money was seemingly close with numerous members of TrapCity and would do stuff like promote their music and wish them a happy birthday on their social media. Moreover, some people close to D-Money, such as the rapper Flame, who is also from the SDL, EBT, DrillCity and Taekwon World areas, would seemingly diss Lil Jeff following his death. There was also seemingly some kind of connection between Jeff and Lil Deuce, as the two were actually following each other on Instagram. But while these two victims seem like wild rumors at best, the next two are commonly believed to be the work of Jeff and the other Bloodhounds, with these two victims in many ways launching Jeff into the spotlight and helping him rise to become one of the most infamous names in modern Chicago drill, as well as being one of the most ruthless shootings the west side of Chicago had ever seen. To understand the events that would take place in early 2024, we likely have to go all the way back to the early days of the young Bloodhounds. As I mentioned before, out of the three main rappers associated with the Bloodhounds, Jeff, Q50 and Vert, it appears that Vert was likely the first to get into the streets. On his old Facebook page that's under his real name, a young Vert can be seen often hanging out on the east side with the rest of the kids and older members from DrillCity and TrapCity or Chris World.
How long? No, I asked him something. My head. Yeah, my head. Huh? Go get. Let me go.
Hey, who was that? Who was that?
Say you want some smoke, you must be high as fuck. Follow me. Everybody good over here? Everybody good over here? Oh, you guys are right there fucking up.
He's talking, I ain't going.
Check it out.
He's
We
funny
over.
shit, man.
Hold on. What that is? I'm gonna go give me some. I need ants. Phone that money in it.
But Vert had also made friends from outside his close neighborhood, with at least one of these friends being all the way out in the west side of Chicago, more specifically a hood known as The Jungle, which is located in the near west side neighborhood close to the United Center, which is home to both the Chicago Bulls NBA team and the Chicago Blackhawks NHL team. The relationship between Vert and his friend from Jungle would continue into their adult years, with Vert seemingly taking trips with the members from Jungle as recently as 2021. There's also a vlog from 2022 by YouTuber J Global Visuals, where Vert can be seen hanging out in the Jungle's hood with them.
Real stop, man. Man. No, man. Jungle life, man. We was never known to go. Never. Ever. Jungle life, man. Follow that shit, man. Turn the camera. This real live right now. Shout out to guys from outside. See them do these shit. You know, I'm from the East, but got killers from west. GDK, same K, TVMK, whatever they say. The whole west side thing, what up? Gang, you ain't Jungle.
The members from the Jungle, on the other hand, are known to be closely affiliated with another close-by set called BKN, also known as Nitty Block, named after a Jungle member called Frank Nitty, or Sosa Nitty, real name Frank Looney Jr., who was killed in 2019. It appears that eventually Jeff too would get close with the Jungle and BKN, with some videos still existing online showing him hanging out with them on their block. Unfortunately, as the rumor goes, the relationship between the Bloodhounds and BKN or Jungle would eventually go sour, after members of the BKN would allegedly turn on them and rob Jeff for some watches, with BKN then, according to Chiracologists hopping on Instagram Live to gleefully show their alleged $50,000 bounty and the 2 guns that were used to take them.
Yeah. Ain't coming like, look, tell the op. You take the off for him.
We got like 50K down. That fake AP they got. I just turned off car.
In the video, they showed off 2 stolen watches and an iced out chain. And funnily enough, one of the watches was seemingly one of those fake iced out watches designed to look like an iced out AP watch, like the one from the coffin video, with Redditors seemingly noticing that one of these watches was almost certainly an imitation AP, which was in fact an AP tribute by fashion watch company GLD, which currently retails for less than $700. And this is something that the thieves would actually point out in their video, ironically mocking the target of their robbery for having a fake AP.
Stop wearing that, stop fake. Stop wearing that fake.
DK.
Tell her I'll start wearing that fake.
Fake AP they got down there, man. Y'all ain't
fake.
I just turned.
While the other watch was just a plain Jane Cartier Santos, which if real would be worth as little as $3,000, along with a matching chain that reads Bartier, which I guess would make sense for the Bloodhounds if they were swapping the C's with B's like old school Bloods when they were buying a chain to match the Cartier watch. But clearly, this was no 50 grand lick, and arguably such a small taking that the robbery would certainly not end up being worth the consequences that would come soon after, as despite the low value of the items taken, it would be the damage to the ego of the person the items were taken from that would escalate the situation severely. Jeff too would seemingly later open up about these events, saying that nobody took anything from him by force, but rather they ran off with them when he wasn't paying attention.
Public service announcement. On my dead grandmother's head, if I'm laying, I'm down. God could come pull me out this car right now. I never took a dollar from nothing. A nigga said, let me take a picture, this, that, and that. I look up, the nigga then ran down. We all the way at the top of the staircase first off. The nigga then ran. I look up, the nigga taking off down the stairs with 5 more extra. Oh man! I'm like, damn. I thought it was gangster. The whole time I'm right there still working with him. I'm telling them we could keep this gangster and be gangster. And I respect it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Just keep this gangster. It's one gangster.
Then, on January the 20th, a Chicago-based YouTuber, Word from the Trenches, would upload a vlog where he hangs out with the BKN members in their hood, with this vlog also including a member called Monty, who also goes by the name Drench, or Czar, and who would allegedly be one of the people involved in Lil Jeff's robbery.
Pull it right up. Who that is? Drench right here.
That's another one of the guys.
He by himself, man. I don't think brother all the way on the other end, brother. On the other end, he by himself, man.
Drench. Hey, tell she go, man. I need some loose sleep, man. Hey, this
hey, we finna get some. I got him in the beach. Drench, come on, Drench.
This Drench, I need loose sleep, man. And y'all already know my name, Drench. Zah, they call me Zah. Smoke your dumb like some Zah. They say I don't stop smoking like some Zah.
Later, in the same vlog, BKN members can be seen hanging out inside a hallway of one of their buildings, when Monty gets a FaceTime call from none other than Lil Jeff, with the energy between the two seeming tense, as Monty begins by asking Jeff where that J at, meaning jewelry, before showing off a watch on his wrist to the camera and saying again, let me see the J's, whilst also telling Jeff that they're all right here while showing his posse, as well as someone asking either Jeff or someone else how much their watch is costing, with the main member of the vlog, rapper Puda, seemingly wholly uninterested in including Jeff in their vlog.
Shit on my big cousin show. 2 feet B-nose, really the whole 4L gang. Like I with the whole 4L. Shout out Young Nudie and my cousin too. All my folk down there in the 8. Shit going on for real.
You ain't got nobody in mind like you like industry wise like shit.
Really, like, I ain't gonna lie, twin. Like,
good, man. We got JL, man.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I ain't gonna lie.
Put that J in there.
Look, only artist I really wanna with right now, probably Big 30, goddamn. How much that is on y'all wrist right there, man? Hold on, y'all. Hold on.
Only 6 days after the release of this vlog, on Friday the 26th of January 2024, Monty and another member of BKN or Jungle called Lil Rob real name Robert Boston, would be attending the Innovations High School located in downtown Chicago, more specifically in an area called the Loop. And then, close to 12:30 p.m., Monty and Lil Rob, together with other students, were seemingly heading out of the school, likely going on their lunch break, with one exit being next to the Washington or Warbush L train station, a very busy location, particularly during the lunch hour. Soon after exiting the school building, two cars would suddenly pull up with several masked shooters hopping out of the cars and opening fire towards Monty and Lil Rob. After the shooting was over, someone standing on the train platform above the street level would capture the truly disturbing scene of the last moments of the two young boys who had been shot, whilst their friends and members of the public crowd around them in sheer shock, with some attempting to do what little they could to try and save their lives. Unfortunately, there was nothing to be done, and both Monty and Lil Rob were later pronounced dead in the Northwestern Memorial Hospital, while a third unrelated victim would be grazed in her jacket, the bully fortunately missing her body. Not long after the shooting, the area would be bustling with local media who would interview witnesses that had seen or heard the shooting, including the woman who had just nearly missed getting shot herself.
Went through my arm, but during that shooting, Berenice Vargas says she was grazed with one of the bullets.
I heard like 4 shots, and that was all super anxious and sad, and I was afraid that it hit me too by accident.
Another witness would describe the shots being let off, sounding like a firecracker, perhaps meaning that at least one of the shooters was using a switch on their pistol.
Like a firecracker, like something like a firecracker, like a 10-15 shot. Boom, 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 boom.
Local shopkeeper Mohammed Ashik describes diving for cover as bullets were flying, witnessing the aftermath, an emotional scene unfolding right in front of him.
Everybody looking right and left, over there has a people crying, kids crying,
All of this happening near Innovations High School, where the two boys were students. Crisis responder Andrew Holmes speaking with the boys' families Friday night.
The 16-year-old just had a smile, that he kept a smile. The 17-year-old, he was just trying to work hard to just go into the trade business.
Holmes furious, like many other community members, about the brazen events that unfolded. He says one of those boys would be celebrating a birthday in just weeks.
You have no right to take another person's life like that. And this is a brutal way. This is cold-blooded murder.
Mayor Brandon Johnson responding to the shooting, writing, quote, "My deepest condolences to their families and the Innovations High School community as they grapple with unimaginable pain and trauma caused by this senseless act of violence."
In the aftermath, even the mayor of Chicago would comment on the senselessness of this attack, and the situation was so serious that it would actually be covered citywide on numerous Chicago news reports, including ABC 7 Chicago.
As two families and a community mourn the slaying of the teens, Chicago police continue their search for the gunman responsible for the brazen downtown daylight ambush that claimed the boys' lives. It appears to be business as usual just a day after two teens are gunned down in front of their downtown high school. Many of the bullet-riddled windows have been boarded up following the slaying of 16-year-old Robert Boston and 17-year-old Monterio Williams. Friends say the boys knew each other, and so did their families. Investigators say both teens were shot and killed Friday afternoon near Wabash and Washington Streets as they left school with a group of friends. The teens were students at CPS Charter School Innovations High School. That's when witnesses say a dark-colored car and a dark-colored SUV pulled up and masked gunmen got out and opened fire. Authorities say while some of the attackers got away in the vehicles, at least 2 of them ran away. The wounded students were rushed to an area hospital where they both were pronounced dead. Investigators call the attack isolated and are combing through security camera video from the area. So far, no one is in custody and no arrests have been made. Police are asking anyone with any information to contact Area 3 police detectives.
Already on the night of the 26th, the police would also give a press briefing on the investigation so far, showing that the CPD was likely taking this case much more seriously than an average South or West Side shooting due to the extremely central location of this double murder.
First of all, I'd like to start out by offering our condolences on behalf of Superintendent Snelling and the Chicago Police Department to the two families that were touched by this senseless act of violence today. Approximately 12:25 today, several students were exiting the Innovations High School when 2 cars pulled up and a group of individuals exited said vehicles, fired multiple times, striking 2 of the teenage students of Innovations High School. These individuals were taken to Northwestern Hospital where they succumbed to their injuries. So we'd like to actually say again, our thoughts and prayers are with the families of these 2 students. We're asking the public, it's very early in the investigation, but if anybody has any information, we'd ask them to call Area 3 Detective Division at 312-744-8261. You can also be reached an email at tipcpd.com. At this time, it appears that a group of approximately 6 students were exiting, and there's no confrontation. Like I said, several individuals exited 2 vehicles, approached the group, and fired multiple times. At this time, it's still very early in the investigation that just several individuals exited those vehicles where the gunfire erupted. There was an individual, a woman that was walking by. Her jacket was grazed. No medical treatment was sought, and she's talking with the area detectives right now. She was not a student, no.
And these teams are Innovation High School, or were Innovation High School.
Yes.
What can you tell us about their ages?
17 years old and 16. At this time, we believe it to be an isolated incident. You know, wherever the tragedy like this strikes in the city, it's heartbreaking for the families and everybody affected by it. It's a tragedy no matter where it happens. But down here, as the students were exiting, we believe it's, like I said, an isolated incident, and that there's no danger in the area continuing. We believe one to be a dark-colored sedan and an SUV. At this time, no one is in custody at this time.
Astonishingly, despite this seemingly being a targeted Hitman-style execution taking place in one of the most central locations in Chicago in broad daylight, there would seemingly not be any possible suspects in the aftermath of the shooting. But there would certainly be a whole lot of dissing going on, particularly towards Monty, with members of the Bloodhounds also taking part in this on social media. And it seems that in the week following the shooting, there may have been some get-back shootings happening too, because in early February, Jeff would post on his Instagram how his ops had lost their mind and were killing innocent people. Jeff would also seemingly get a new tattoo around this time of 10 teardrops falling down his neck, the message being that he had now officially updated his body count to 10 murders. But perhaps most notably, 2 of these teardrops appeared to be connected to each other, with many people believing that these 2 connected teardrops actually referenced Lil Rob and Monty's murders. Meanwhile, BKN were also seemingly dissing Jeff with a rapper called Get Back Dot, dropping a music video for his song Lost My Mind also in the beginning of February, where 2 watches are shown together with the song title, these watches being clearly different from the earlier video, supposedly showing BKN members flexing Jeff's watches, yet seemingly very similar to the other 2 watches that Jeff had displayed on his second Instagram, with this suggesting to me that he hadn't got the watches back, but had at the very least upgraded or kept a much better pair of watches. However, the next move from Jeff would be the motherlode of apparent self-snitching that would end up arguably changing his whole career trajectory, as on the 16th of February 2024, exactly 3 weeks after the shooting that claimed the lives of Monty and Lil Rob, Jeff would release his biggest song to date, a track titled Ah, together with a music video that now has almost 2 million views. The video begins with the Bloodhounds showing off their full gun arsenal, before Jeff begins his confession, verse, starting by saying how he's toting a 10 milli and that his gun has some recoil, before saying, then people did what they did and therefore had to pay the consequences. He then proceeds to explain how he still hops out of the car when he's doing hits and also drives the car because he's so thirsty to catch his ops, before saying that you would think he's lying if he told you about all the things he did in the streets. But Jeff was only getting warmed up, because he then proceeds to state that when he speaks, it's only facts, and that his supposed victim was screaming, ah, when he got hit, and how this person had been acting tough online, but was now laying on the floor. This was another jaw-dropping lyric when you consider the fact that in the footage of Lil Rob and Monty, after they've been shot, lying on the floor, you can actually hear one of them screaming, ah. Jeff then puts the icing on the cake by rapping how he just walked into the lid store to buy 2 hats, a hat, of course, being slang for catching a body and murdering someone, going on to say that he's really stepping in blood, which would eventually become the name of his posthumous debut album, before explaining how his victims didn't get a chance to run, so can't say that he tripped, and that Jeff and his buddies hopped out with 4 guns and 2 people got hit. Jeff then further continues by saying that he has lost his Draco, so he's going to have to use a switch on his pistol, and that before they were his ops, they were his fans. And the verse just keeps on going, with Jeff then rapping how somebody's best friend died and he wishes that he was dead with him, but it won't take too long until he's also dead, because Jeff is a madman who can't stop chasing and killing his ops, before explaining that they got the drop on their ops and spin the block, which would indeed seemingly be the only way that an attack like the one pulled off on Monty and Lil Rob could even be pulled off. Jeff would say that his favorite ops got killed, and he then appears to forget for a moment that he was in the middle of a confession, or perhaps he simply begins to reminisce about his earlier crimes, as he then lays down some bars about taking cops on high-speed chases and how he refused to fight and will just kill you. He explains how he loves robbing people for their jewelry, particularly watches, as well as being so thirsty that he might even take your socks off your feet, as well as saying that he'll pull up on the side of your car and kill you right there. Jeff then continues saying how he's the top op and known for putting his victims on Fox News, with the local Fox 32 Chicago channel also being one of the first news outlets that reported on the killing of Monty and Lil Rob.
We began with breaking news. 2 high school students killed in a Chicago Loop shooting.
Jeff then finally ends the song by saying that he is indeed everything that they say he is, a slimy guy who will walk you down before killing you, before shouting out Q50 and sending a stern message to all his ops that they better watch their mouths when talking about Jeff. But of course, Jeff was only getting started with the dissing with this song, and he would soon continue disrespecting his ops on social media, where even Shoebox Baby from O Block would comment on his live questioning how come Jeff suddenly has so many views, asking him if he's a rapper now, while Jeff would rap lyrics from his Ah song before noticing that a BKN member was commenting how Jeff was going to die, with Jeff then dissing BKN, saying how sending threats had gotten Sav killed, this being a possible reference to a 17-year-old boy from Jungle's neighborhood called Ray Sav. Real name Raekwon Williams, he was killed in 2016 and had seemingly been even close to Vert in the past, as well as saying that sending threats had also got Lil Rob killed, the implication likely being that Lil Rob had died due to Monty's actions.
Before they was out, they was on my. He said, Sab, we gon' die. And that's why Sab ass dead now, because y'all ass sending threats. They ain't get your mans. You send threats like that, and then your homie go get up. Now you gonna merch it on him next. Now it's on Trent. Now it's on Lil Rob. You know what I'm saying? Now it's on all these new ass.
Jeff would also then begin to diss a young alleged BKN member called Baby Do It, real name Kadoni Smith Jr., who was found shot to death inside of a burning car in December 2023 at only 15 years old, with this murder allegedly being a get back for Monty killing two equally young boys from a rival set.
They put y'all shorty in the trunk and set his ass on fire. Y'all look, I ain't that mad. I ain't got pissed out like that. Whoa. They burnt this to hell. They said this quick. Boy, I let better go play somewhere for us.
Still in February, Jeff would also post a picture of himself smoking on 2 blunts at 2:20 p.m, with the Chiracologists, who were now beginning to turn into full-blown Lil Jeffologists, commenting why couldn't he wait until that time was 2:22 p.m. to make the message even more obvious, with everybody now seemingly involved in this inside joke that Jeff was sharing about allegedly killing 2 high school students. Jeff's apparent self-snitching about the case would only become more brazen as time went on, and in April, he would once again do what appeared to be either a semi-confession or alternatively an example of Jeff reaching a level of trolling as promotion that resembled a true work of art, as Jeff's music was now beginning to reach some noticeable popularity, not least due to the rumors of him being behind this brazen double murder.
All kids, they down. I'm done giving kids passes. It's a wrap. You know that if I get mad enough, the will start happening. And y'all know this by now. I went black for like a week and poof, gotta go. After that one, poof, I came back. Poof.
In April, he would make the now infamous Instagram post of him holding a picture of 2 hats with the description supposedly symbolizing each of his victims with a different emoji, with the last 2 emojis being those of a graduation cap, another rather obvious reference to the fact that Monty and Lil Rob were killed while leaving their high school. Also, seemingly around this time, Jeff would post a cryptic story on IG of his phone screen with the date 13th of January, which would have been almost exactly 2 weeks before the murders of Monty and Lil Rob. In the story, Jeff says that he never wants to feel like he felt that day, and that after whatever happened that day, he made a promise to himself never to forget, and that it's been 4 months since he stood on business, plus then some. Vert too was seemingly participating in the dissing, releasing a song and music video titled Out West, with Vert of course seemingly having a long and personal connection with the West Side sets, Jungle and BKN, that had now come to an end, just like his long affiliation with TrapCity had come to a close the previous year. In the song, Vert raps how he's not too cocky to ask his friends for help before seemingly dissing Jungle and BKN for trying to beef with him whilst their homies had been killed, and specifying how he had been just chilling and kicking back when hearing who had gotten killed, this perhaps being a reference to Monty. Vert dedicating an entire song to allegedly dissing his old friends from the West Side seems to point to his involvement in whatever took place between the Bloodhounds and BKN, which is also something that members from TrapCity, including his former friend Tiro, would later indicate during his vlog with X-Man Rico.
And the reason I was saying that too though, because some things unforgivable. For like one thing I wanted to ask you, because bro said this happened over a chain. People was reaching out trying to have me do a story, tell me about Vert got robbed and something like that, and that's how the beef started.
Got robbed by who?
I don't know who did it, but they say Vert got robbed and shot.
Nah, he ain't talking about that. He talking about when Vert. Oh, out west?
He did get poked?
I don't know. I heard they got something happened to him. Yeah, I heard some shorty them took their ass.
I was locked up, folks. So I was saying, I was just heading to the county.
I was in the county.
But got robbed and
Tino
through the grapevine.
You doing?
Shorty them got back on phone now. Shorty them got back. For sure.
In between the dissing, Jeff was also increasingly boasting about his other favourite hobby together with Q50. This hobby, of course, being allegedly robbing people for their jewellery, particularly watches. With this boasting almost seemingly also getting mixed in with slick disses towards BKN. Jeff and Q50 would even proudly show their bounties during Instagram lives, even showing pictures of their alleged victim, a man called 6300 Bredo, and their bloody hands wearing the stolen watches.
Wasn't him, but it was his number. I'm gonna show y'all. Look, first he had on. It's them right here. Ooh, now 1600. He ain't had none of this. What a burst was that? Man, look, we exposing this. Show that dick. We got an AP already, Storm. I'm having my way in Chicago, Illinois.
Now we got another road.
Hey man, get them people that shit back. Psych.
They should never been trying to kick it behind the line of green.
Damn.
That's it, $10. $10 that cost him his whole hustle career. Everything he worked hard for. The cost lost it all.
He tried to.
Hey, Lil Jeff, you said take this picture. I was about now. Oh, weeds. I got blood on them diamonds and I still wore it. This is part of my tattoo. They don't know if that's a tattoo or ring. Nah, they ain't no. The Bloodhounds feel like they the only ones exist in the rack. You might as well. You don't know other but the guy.
This alleged watch incident with Bredo would allegedly even lead to something way more serious, as not long after, a member called Slide from his TMC set would allegedly get shot in the head, his exact condition after this alleged shooting remaining a mystery, while Jeff and Q50 would once again hop on social media to mercilessly troll their ops, even saying that Jeff's 11th body was now pending.
On my dead grandmother's head is somewhere on the death bed, down, if not dead, down this moment. Got hit in his brain. Got hurt. He can't even talk to y'all. He can't even tell you how he feel right now. He don't even know. He's supposed to be 11 right now, but I'm pretending. I'm pretending for the 11-1.
In one ominous live, Jeff would also say how they weren't expecting him to make it to 2024, but that he's made it with a new watch on his wrist, before once again saying how he's up 10 bodies.
They say I wasn't supposed to make it to New Year's. I done made it to a new year with a new watch. These hate me. I done made it to a new year with an AP. I love the new year. I'm so happy I made it. I done made it, yeah. Let me make it now. I'm icy. They can't take it. I'm up 10. I need some more. Play that real quick.
In this same live, Jeff would also tell how he's taking his fans to killing school, but all the applicants need to have at least 2 bodies under their belts, mentioning how he's putting this limit in place as a tradition, which seems to be yet another reference to Monty and Lil Rob, as well as referring to the infamous King Von lyric where he says that you're not a true killer unless you've got 2 bodies.
I'm taking just to killing school. Class start next week. You gotta at least have 2 bodies though, for I ain't coming with no, if you ain't got shit, I can't work with no beginners, folks. You gotta at least have a 2. I'm gonna give y'all 2 minimum. I'm gonna start at 2 minimum, cause y'all know why I'm gonna start at 2 minimum. Now I'm just doing it for a tradition. I'm gonna start at 2 minimum, man. 2, you gotta have a minimum of 2. No, anything, you gotta have 2. You gotta have a minimum of 2 of them to come to school. You just gonna sit your dumb ass in this seat and whatever I say, do it. If you do anything scary, I'm smoking your. Nah, I'm just playing. I'ma have to though, cause now like I just thought you was ready and you lied. Now I gotta kill you and throw you over there in the lake. I'm about to water.
Jeff was clearly feeling himself, and he would also seemingly start and intensify beefs with numerous other people and sets.
800, a snake, OTV, a whole low end. Nah. Yeah. Hey, shorty, Mike, y'all, that's different. Yeah. You niggas, Chicago, matter of fact, the city, all y'all too, watching me. Bam too, Buck Slide too. Oh.
One of these being another popular Chicago rapper, YFG Fatso, who Jeff would often diss on social media.
Fatso, he ain't no shit. That little boy better play his part, you know that?
This would seemingly even lead to a false rumor in April that Jeff had been killed, which Fatso would allegedly help spread, with the drill expert Squid Ape then making a post on his Instagram debunking these rumors. But anyway, things had also been happening in the streets closer to home, as in March 2024, a well-respected TrapCity OG called Lil D, real name Delegance Crawl, had been killed following an argument during an insane shootout where Lil D was also able to shoot his killer, before another man would take his gun and chase his killer down and shoot him some more. Despite TrapCity and DrillCity and the Bloodhounds still being in deadly beef, both Jeff and Vert would pay their respects to Lil D on social media, showing how mixed up the friendships, alliances, and rivalries had gotten at this point between these two factions. A few months later, another tragedy would strike when another OG, 36-year-old man named Tyrone McClinton, would lose his life. Better known in the streets as TY, Ty, or G-Ty, he was allegedly from the infamous set NLMB that are closely affiliated with DrillCity, with some even theorizing whether the hit on Monty and Lil Rob had been done by the Bloodhounds together with the younger members from NLMB MB, who go by the name Shorty Mob. Ty would be killed in Drill City's hood as he and 2 other men were approached by 4 suspects who would open fire, injuring the 2 other men whilst killing Ty. Someone would even allegedly post a security camera footage of the shooting, showing shooters surprising Ty and others from behind the corner. The location where the shooting happened is at the very heart of Drill City's hood, on the intersection of 79th Street and Cottage Grove. This location, particularly a liquor store there called Happy, being known as a particularly dangerous location, and following Ty's death, that liquor store would be closed for good. According to some Chiracologists, the shooting that would lead to Ty's death would in fact be about the beef between Drill City and BKN, with some even claiming that the shooters were actually out there looking for Jeff himself. But as of right now, the case remains open, and there is seemingly very little to go off to verify any of these claims. Meanwhile, Jeff's career was now truly taking off, and he was grabbing the attention of many local YouTubers, with On a Couch TV being the first to drop an interview with Jeff and the Bloodhounds on the 8th of May, the interview being filmed at the Grand Crossing Park in Drill City's hood. And this interview would include numerous quotables, including On a Couch asking about some watches having gone missing, to which the Bloodhounds reply by saying that they have no idea about any watches, whilst Q50 adds that Jeff doesn't even like watches.
They definitely wanted me to ask you, like, do y'all be safe out here? It was some situation they wanted me to ask about, like with some watches or something came up missing. About who? Like somebody or some watch or something from over here probably got took or something.
Don't even like watches, man. We take that
The conversation then turns to Z Money, with Jeff and Q50 showing off their Z Money tattoos before Q50 starts his trademark clapathon, and describing the get back for Z Money as relentless, before adding that the same things they cried about, their ops died about.
So how do y'all move out here? Everybody probably see y'all got the Z Money tattoo on your face. It's probably real noticeable.
You know that. You see, that's that related. That's that get back for my man. That's that get back for my man. That's that get back for my man.
Y'all basically let us know who that is too. We see y'all keep his name alive every chance y'all get.
That's cuz. That's our cousin, folks. Yeah, folks cousin. You see, folks them see it real sandbox, baby.
Does know like the impact he had on the hood that he.
You see a tattoo on my face. You see that? Hey, look, relentless. Relentless.
His brothers.
That's like that. Look. Hey, look. The same I cried about, you know.
On a Couch would also note to Jeff that a lot of their songs had been getting leaked lately, before saying that fans have been telling him to ask Jeff about a song called Die Els, the song name being of course another reference to Lil, before Lil Scoom steps in front of the camera and starts rapping the lyrics to Jeff's hit song, Ah.
And you pop it right now, man. A lot of people been experiencing links like Lil Scoom, everybody, they been leaking their songs, man. They love that your song Els or Die Els or something. They said give them a snippet or something. I don't know. They just asked me to tell you to give them a snippet or something.
What's that? I think that's
They've been spamming that too. They tell them to rap some of that.
He's a boom, 10 million, and they got some cake. Them did what they did. They had to pay the consequence and hop out blasting.
We hop out shooting and drive. You play with me, you get
it's a song they leaked on YouTube
already. Yeah,
hey,
think
stop
so.
leaking that music before we come rob.
They said it.
Okay. Yeah, they leaked my. They already got the song. They want me to rap it.
Vert would also participate in the interview, as On a Couch asks them if people in the streets should stay off social media, with Vert replying that they're just trolling online and that everything they say is just a game, like GTA or Call of Duty.
We feel like you really like in the streets, for real, like you shouldn't even play on the internet.
It's called trolling, bro.
Extent, yeah, you got
trolling, bro.
That's enough.
We be trolling, bro.
Because we live in a time right now where like a lot of rappers actually live the life they say, whether it's like trapping or anything. Even like
GTA, Call of Duty.
What you say?
So when y'all like in the booth and all that, how do y'all stay away from like even incriminating lyrics? As we see what Young Thug and all them going through for rap lyrics.
It's for entertainment purpose.
GTA, Call of Duty.
I told you.
I'll be with a Jeff nigga, free thug.
This interview would be followed by another one later in May, this time by DJU, this of course being the famous interview where Jeff would go semi-viral for sniffing some crushed up Percocets with Q50, whilst humorously calling the stuff Tony Montana, making many believe that Jeff was in fact taking uppers, not downers, before describing himself as a functional cluck, meaning a functional drug addict.
But y'all not having no troubles to where y'all gotta f around and go to rehab or nothing, right?
Hell nah. Hell nah. Shit ain't good deep. That's cluck.
See you all that scratching your face.
I'm a functional cluck. I can function and I can move and think and do and still live my everyday life.
DJU would also bring up Jeff's supposed 10 bodies, asking why the internet is painting him to be such a monster, with Jeff replying how all of the rumors about him are just coming from Reddit, showing that Jeff was indeed well aware of the infamy and dedicated fan base that he was building amongst Reddit's hardcore drill fan community with his wild antics in the streets and on songs.
You wanna know? I'm gonna tell you right now why I thought you was from the UK. Cause they said Bloodhound Lil Jeff got 10 bodies. I said, okay, well he can't be in Iraq then. This must be, you feel me? In the UK. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about the real Bloodhound Lil Jeff, right? Why these folks on the internet make you out to be this monster?
I don't know, for they ass up in the head.
So look, I just watched shout out to SNTV, right? Street News TV.
What is that?
Let me cite my source. He made a video about you. It says Bloodhound Lil Jeff. Is he self-snitching or clout chasing? It's the video I watched today. And man, in the first 60 seconds of the video, he refers to you as an example of what not to do for the youth. He said, man, this guy right here, this is what y'all should not do. You know what I mean? And he kind of broke down, you know, some stuff he found online. So where are these, you know, type of rumors coming from?
The grapevine. That's coming out Reddit, man. That's how you found me, right?
Yeah.
That gotta stop, bro. This is not real.
You definitely heavy on Reddit, for sure. You get posted on there like almost every day.
DJU would also ask Jeff about him always having so many watches, with Jeff trolling by responding that really, the people are just letting him have them.
Another thing I picked up online from your social media activity is you be having a lot of watches.
You see this? Man, this is just come on.
Where you be getting all these fly watches from?
That's sweet.
Okay.
$3.99. So free be giving them to me, really. They just be letting them keep them type shit. Like, they put them on, I just keep them. They be friendly as hell.
Word. I see he's still on your wrist, right?
Have them, bro.
So it was a situation where a guy tried to get high and he lost his watch.
Nah, who? What time? Where you read that shit?
On Reddit.
Yeah, they is. Some of that shit I tell you.
Oh no, but they picked it up off your video. You said that they tried to get a $10 whatever y'all call
talking
it.
about that shit. I thought you was saying I was trying to get high. Oh yeah. Yeah, man. What you about, man? Yeah. That one about it for real.
Word.
He let me see this.
Yeah, never
I'm
actually
really borrowing it right now.
I'm about to say he never
I'm
asked.
gonna give it back soon. I'll just borrow it.
DJU then continues by asking if anyone has ever taken anything from him, likely already knowing the answer, with Jeff responding by rehashing the events leading up to the deaths of Monty and Lil Rob before quoting his song, saying they did what they did, before Vert cuts in and does a whistling sound, with every chiracologist in the audience surely being able to read between the lines the message that Jeff was sending. But Jeff then caps the topic off by saying that it wasn't really about nothing and he just took the L and moved on.
Have someone ever tried to take like some of your belongings from you?
Now listen, I ain't gonna lie. I did run out on me before. I will tell you that. Did what they did.
What, he zeroed you on the move or something?
Yeah, basically.
That happens to the best of us, right? We done all been finessed.
Yeah, his ass ran off and it wasn't about shit.
We done all been finessed, bro.
Just a little.
That's what comes with the streets.
It wasn't about nothing at all. I'm talking about at all.
Yeah, I feel like that ain't nothing. Like, I feel
Hell
like
no,
you can't even count that as L. I mean, you can count it as L, but you just charge that shit.
It's scary, ain't it? Like, what I'm doing about scary charge of the game. Shit, bro. Yeah, I just took my L and moved on.
DJU then attempts to further dig into the topic, asking if these events turned him into a monster, but Jeff responds by implying that no, because he's been had ops. The conversation then turned to asking what it really was that turned Jeff into a savage, with Jeff replying that it was actually the death of Z Money, saying how after his death, all he has seen is red.
Did that turn you to like some type of monster on some shit like, man, f these?
Nah, it been f these. That just made me watch these. Okay, watch these. Now,
right. So what was the one situation that has occurred in your life that made you say, fuck these niggas?
I told you, ran off on me.
Nigga, that's what I just asked.
For that, like you said, it's been. It been f these. I ain't gonna lie, my homie dad, that's on my face right here.
Z Money?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was super f these after that. Fuck everybody after that.
Okay, I see Z Money on his face as well. Y'all share the same tattoo.
Another.
So this definitely had to be somebody that meant a lot to both of y'all. How long ago was his passing?
May. What was that last May? Yeah. January, March, April.
About a year
That
ago?
shit was a year ago. Yeah.
No, March. Yeah, March. Yeah, that was March. Last March.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It been a year.
And how did this death affect your mentality, brother?
These man. Niggas, all I see is red.
Jeff would seemingly also troll Lil Rob and Monty by repeatedly saying, "Stay in school."
Hold on, let me do a redo. What you say, stay in school? Yeah, come on, redo. I'm still saying y'all though, cause I don't put them AB on some bullshit. Come on, you ready? I can redo it.
Yeah, it's rolling, brother. You ain't even. They heard you.
Then stay in school. That's it. That's all. Stay in school. But everybody else, except for the people that need to stay in school.
The interview would finally end on a truly telling note, with Vert taking a box of cereal, made famous by the Whoop Man himself and the official peace pusher of Chicago, social media influencer FYB J-Mane, pouring his promotional cereal The Whoops on the floor before stepping on them, showing that unlike J-Mane, one thing the Bloodhounds truly had no interest in was pushing peace.
DJU, Bloodhound Lil Jeff, get everybody stay in school.
The ops.
Hey, shout out to Word to Production. Shout out AMF Visuals. You can take them whoops home with you, brother. Damn.
Damn.
He
just left out the whoops.
Jeff's rap career was now on a new level, and still in May, he would head off on his first trip to Los Angeles as a popping new artist. On the 21st of May, AMF will drop a vlog about their LA trip, where Jeff, Scoom, and Vert can be seen living the rapper lifestyle, chilling in a big Airbnb.
Hey, Andre, what you want?
Driving in fancy cars.
They got us, is what it is. Shit, I'm going back.
What you on, man?
Free phone now. I owe jail call for the guys, man.
Shopping.
That's an escalator right there, man.
That's what we doing. We leaving.
We just had to make this force to pull the camera out. You want to pull the camera out. Stay right here. Come on, get that J in up. Get that in up.
And of course, hanging out and recording new music in the studio.
Hold on, Bert. I gotta get close. I cannot miss. Ain't nothing wrong. I gotta switch. Do the news.
Dahmer on the way.
The next to the news. White.
1M on the way. You at 300K.
300.
300,000 views on that. Jamie Foxx.
The vlog ends with the crew preparing to head back to Chicago for Scoom's birthday party, with his birthday being on Sunday the 12th of May, whilst the party seemingly being planned for Saturday the 11th.
You ready to go back home?
You know that party on Saturday for Scoom's birthday.
Unfortunately, the day after Scoom's birthday party, and on the actual day of his birthday, on the 12th of May, another young man would lose his life. This man being a 22-year-old named Khalil Dunbar, who is better known in the streets as an alleged member of the 8-Tray mob called Baby KD. According to news reports, KD had been in an alley near the 10800 block of South Indiana Avenue, this area being far away from the hood of the 8-Tray mob, when he was shot in the neck and taken to the Christ Medical Center, where he would later pass away. KD had seemingly been close friends with both Clay and True, the 8-Tray members killed in 2021, allegedly by the Bloodhounds according to some rumors, and he would often post tributes to them on his social media. Perhaps not so surprisingly, at this point, after KD's death, Jeff would soon seemingly begin to claim this murder as well, as he would go on live on Instagram and officially update his body count, saying that he's on his toes now because he can no longer count with his fingers, before simply stating, "F it, it's 11."
Hold your wrist up. Hey, when he play this, y'all know what the going on. I'm on my toes. We got his soul. I want to bust his soul. Don't play with him. You want to? Yeah. Shit ain't pretty. That shit ain't pretty. I'm gonna bust your head. 3 fight. That shit is 11. You gonna be 8 and I'ma scan your scary
to hell, nigga.
Q50 would also make his official body count update in late May, saying how he's up 8 now, whilst back in March 2024, the number had seemingly still been just 7. After supposedly coming back for a quick birthday bash and a murder, Jeff would then soon head back to LA to continue living the rapper lifestyle again with Vert and Scoom, this time right in time for Vert's birthday, which was on the 26th of May. During this trip, Jeff would end up linking with several Chicago drill legends, including Rico Reckless and G Herbo.
We the rappers that rap the rappers. That rap the rappers. We rap like it's Christmas. Ain't no duplicating this.
We rap shit like it's Christmas. Boy, we kill for real.
Hey, I say, Lil Vert, Lil Jeff, because they different, bro. They ain't trying to rap.
We rapping, we scrapping, we trapping.
Them did what they did, man.
We mapping.
Ain't no light right here. Ain't no light right here.
Nah, I'm gonna get off the phone though.
He would also be shooting music videos with his manager AMF, one of these being the music video for the song l.a.x, released on May the 28th. The song itself being a tribute to the city that Jeff returned to after allegedly catching his 11th body, where Jeff once again aims disses at Monty, saying how he turned Czar into Czar, with this being an obvious play on one of Monty's nicknames being Czar, and with Czar also referring to a strain of high-grade cannabis, as well as likely being a reference to the vlog, where Monty himself says they call him Czar, and he'll smoke your dumb ass like some Czar.
Hey, y'all already know my name, Zah, they call me Zah, smoke your dumb like some Zah.
The song itself racked up 25,000 views in its first day of uploading, which isn't superstar numbers, but telling of a genuinely engaged core fan base that Jeff was cultivating at the moment. Jeff was showing potential in music, but his lyrics were so demonic, it was hard to imagine his story ending any other way than tragedy. And unfortunately for him, soon he would end up in the sort of situations that he always rapped about putting other people in. And just like his ops, soon the whole world will be logging onto the internet to see the demise of the latest killer drill rapper in 4K. Lil Jeff's strategy of bragging about his insane body count in his songs and acting wild in his interviews was picking up steam. He'd already been going viral for his clip sniffing a pill on DJU, and on the 1st of June, a YouTuber called Blender Bars dropped a video that was reposted on Reddit claiming that Lil Jeff had indeed claimed his 11th body during his LA trip, claiming that he indeed did a drill between these two trips to Los Angeles, and being one of the earliest exposés of Lil Jeff's staggering stats as a Chicago gang assassin.
He claims to have 10 bodies at least. And we have lyrics to match up with 2 of the bodies that he proudly claims after the ops supposedly hit a lick for some of his watches.
By June the 3rd, his music video for the track Should Have Saw It had 199,000 views, passing 200k the following day. Jeff was having the motion in music, and whilst this was only the beginning, he clearly had a lot of potential in the rap game. Unfortunately, however, as he often rapped himself, he was always more focused on the streets than the music, and only a few days later, he would end up on the wrong side of the sort of drills he usually was dishing out on the streets. On the 8th of June 2024, everything came crashing down for Lil Jeff and the Bloodhounds in dramatic fashion. After countless lyrics about jumping out of the car as soon as he sees his ops and shooting at them, the 8th of June was a day like no other, and in surveillance footage that was later leaked, we saw this was another day when Jeff, Q50, and another man indeed caught one of their ops, jumping out of the car outside of an address on South Rhodes Avenue, a street that Jeff and his friends had boastfully rapped about shooting up numerous times before. In the footage, if you look at the very top left of the frame, you can see a door of a car opening. This is Lil Jeff jumping out of the car, and he immediately begins shooting at a man wearing bright yellow shorts who ducks behind a car and runs up a porch into a house whilst being chased by Jeff, who continues shooting at him. He would then seemingly be chased by Jeff wearing a black Nike Tech hoodie and grey Nike Tech joggers and pointing a gun, with Jeff doing something that he had indeed rapped about doing numerous times, chasing an op into their own home. But at this point, Lil Jeff got something he didn't bargain for, as someone inside the house would begin to open fire on Jeff, neutralizing him before he even made it up the steps, sending him flying back onto the ground at the bottom of the porch. And here on the ground, Jeff was reportedly shot numerous times, with the implication being that his shooters emptied a whole magazine into him from atop the porch. Then we would see another angle from a different camera which recorded the sounds of the shots being fired into Jeff, as well as showing Q50 and another shooter, as well as the driver on the hit behind Jeff, walking to the porch and returning fire, with Q50 seemingly shooting at a passing car for some reason, likely in this moment earning himself an attempted murder charge. Some have suggested that the original target that Jeff had chased was talking to the person driving in the car that Q50 was shooting at as it drove past. Meanwhile, once the driver of the getaway car notices that Jeff has actually been killed on the ground, getting out to look, before all the men realize that it's too late to save Jeff, running back to the car, getting in and fleeing the scene without Jeff, as shots continue to hit Jeff laying on the the ground. Interestingly, another camera angle would later surface, showing that when Q50 initially ran towards the porch, he slipped over and fell as he tried to let off shots, injuring his ankle, with Q50 being seen with a limp as he ran back to the car. And while Jeff was laying on the ground, he would reportedly be hit 19 times, and an insane total of 58 shell casings would ultimately be found at the scene of the shootout. And after it all went down, reports of the shooting would begin to circulate on Twitter, and police scanner audio would describe a chaotic scene. A later video by YouTuber Loyalty and Betrayal would actually do a full breakdown of the scanner audio.
302 Sam, we're hitting 12 rounds, 6639 South Roads.
Straight 10. Anybody go in there, be careful, this might be crossfire.
And, yep. Per 310, anybody heading over there to roads, use caution because this may be crossfire, and now we getting a person shot. 6647 South Roads.
306 Sam, we got multiple casings on 6641 South Roads, on the front porch and the sidewalk.
Multiple shell casings, 6641 South Roads, on the front and the sidewalk, on the front porch as well. 6641 South Roads. Alright, they saying somebody's doing a self-transport right now. They telling my partner on the phone. We trying to figure out what car took them. 306 Adam.
Yeah, 306 Adam. One of the residents at 6641 says they threw a guy in a car and they're on their way to the hospital. I got some blood drops on 6641.
Black SUV, Adam Lincoln King, 3937, Wisconsin Place, just dropped off a victim at UFC. They're going northbound on Maryland. It's a black SUV with Wisconsin Place, Adam Lincoln King, 3937, northbound Maryland. For a black SUV, Adam Lincoln King, 3937 with Wisconsin Place, they just dropped off a victim at UFC that was shot. And that vehicle stolen.
Footage would later circulate showing the Chicago police combing the crime scene, placing a whole bunch of evidence markers where the many shell casings had been left. But interestingly, at the crime scene, Jeff's body was notably absent. That's because apparently Q50 and the other man seemingly took Jeff's body to the hospital after the shootout, somehow managing to spin the block, coming back, and retrieving Jeff's body from the porch where he died without taking any more bullets themselves. An image would later go around online which seemingly showed Q50 and the other man carrying Jeff's body into the hospital. But it didn't take long for the dust to settle on the actual shooting before the footage of the shooting began circulating on Reddit's Chiracology subreddit, where many were quick to give their perspective on this wild modern-day shootout captured on camera, with many suggesting that Jeff and the Bloodhounds had actually underestimated their opposition and ended up outgunned after being overzealous. As one commenter put it, honestly, the video puts it more out of the actual perspective of what it looked like in real life, because cameras only see a certain angle. They actually were only like 20 foot behind him, with the car being like 80 foot at most. They were behind him, he just ran ahead and got overzealous and got blasted for it. Hindsight is 20/20, my G. Granted, they did turn back the minute they realized there was more opposition than they thought, but by that point, they were in a full-blown shootout. Dude in the red got hit, and they were in the middle of the road with only cars for cover. Once they realized they were outgunned and got to the car, is when Jeff got fully overkilled, and the dude in the white saw it all and let the switch off a few times in a futile attempt. No one's fault but Jeff, and he literally got instant karma. For those that knew Lil Jeff and his activities in the streets, they would know what was to come next. The day after his death, on the 9th of June 2024, Jeff's close family members and friends would react to his death with heartbreak, with some saying that they were staring at his picture in disbelief and saying that his brother Jay Boogie is going to lose his mind when he finds out the news. Jeff's dad posted throwback images of Jeff with his half-brothers together with the caption, "F the world." Q50 would say that his brother and twin is gone, but he's already done crying and planning to do exactly what Jeff told him to do. Vert would later discuss how Jeff's death affected him in a DJU interview where he seemed a little intoxicated and slurring, explaining that everything was still going on.
We saw, I guess, what happened on camera or whatever. Lil Jeff lost his life. How has that affected you, since?
It's brother, it's my twin. You know, I don't feel that shit hurt. It's my brother,
Yeah.
But it's like, I can't stop. For what? I'm gonna stop for. They want me to be stopped. They want me, Well, this shit don't stop. Shit all gonna still go on. Brother gonna live through us, It's my brother. I feel with a big face painted on my shorty. You hear me? So I'm on right there.
At some point, a vigil and balloon release was held in Jeff's honor, and a day later, on the 10th of June, a Bloodhound member would say that all the ops saluted Jeff for the work he put in on the streets and hinted towards revenge coming soon. And Jeff's dad would even respond on Facebook with an eerie post, saying, "Let it be known, y'all didn't get him, he came trying to get y'all, and what happened happened. But the saga continues, clear the streets." With some in the comments in disbelief that a father would be talking about his son like he was one of his homies in the gang, branding Jeff's father a goofy who actually failed his child. But Jeff's dad wasn't the only person with a connection to Jeff Jeff acting tough online. On the 18th of June 2024, a Bloodhound member says that they are the reason that the ops merch it on their friends. Then, on the 22nd of June 2024, Lil Jeff's funeral would take place, and images would circulate on social media showing the flower arrangements in the funeral program, as well as pictures of Jeff in his casket going around online, whilst others shared supposed buttons giving out which called Jeff the Reaper. His girlfriend would seemingly drop the Y in front of his flower arrangement, and a moving tribute would be passed around from the service, which would tell all the details of his life, apart from the most salacious ones. It read, Jeffrey Lamar Harris, affectionately known as Lil Jeff, was born on July the 14th, 2002, at 11 a.m. to Latasha Lucas and Jeffrey Harris in Chicago, Illinois. From the moment he arrived, Jeffrey was a happy, intelligent baby who loved to laugh and bring joy to those around him. Jeffrey began his educational journey at CICS Longwood and graduated from Harold Washington Elementary School. He continued his studies at Kersey Metropolitan High School, graduating in 2020, and later took online classes at Daly College. Basketball was one of Jeffrey's greatest passions, and he spent his summers playing with AAU and dedicated his free time to the court, continuing his basketball career through his junior year of high school. Another favorite pastime was video gaming, where his friends fondly remember his eyes being glued to the screen. Lil Jeff was known for his deep affection and kind-hearted nature. He had a generous spirit, always willing to give his last to someone in need, and his silly side showed through his jokes and funny stories, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who spent time with him. Music was another of Jeffrey's passions, and his talent in analyzing and performing music earned him a record deal. His suave sense of style ensured that he was always in the latest fashion and newest shoes. Family was everything to Jeffrey, and he adored his niece, Ja'ala. He was always drawn back home, craving his mother's affection. Jeffrey was truly the life of the party, bringing joy to his family and friends. In 2021, Jeffrey met Peyton, and they became inseparable. Despite their growing pains, their love for each other was deep and genuine, with Peyton holding a special place in his heart. Jeffrey performed his last concert and walked into eternity on June the 8th, 2024. He was preceded in death by his grandmother Regina and loving cousins Jamarion and Zaire. And Jeffrey leaves behind to cherish his memory, his mother Letitia, and his father Jeffrey Sr., his grandmother Sherry, his aunts Tequila, Nikia, Tisha, Alicia, Deneen, his uncle Brandon, his brothers John, Jakari, Tradari, his nieces Aubrey and Jaya, and his girlfriend Peyton, and a host of family, friends, and loved ones. Thank you for attending his last concert. Long live Lil Jeff. But the funeral wouldn't be without drama, however. Apparently, a fight would break out between some women who had been attending the service, with clips circulating online amid rumors that Jeff's girlfriend and his side chick had been involved in an altercation. Whilst Jeff had been laid to rest, the beef was far from over, and disrespect would still fly from surviving members. Vert apparently made a mural for Jeff, with 8 Trey Mob members recording themselves destroying it, followed by reports that 2 men from 8 Trey Mob were shot in retaliation within 3 hours. But despite Lil Jeff no longer being a threat on the streets, his music would continue bringing his murderous energy to the streets of Chicago, even after life. On June the 26th, just days after his funeral, Lil Jeff's first and only full-length album would be released posthumously, and the project would be released under the label Grade A Productions, started by infamous former Chicago street rapper Lil Bibby, the same label responsible for releasing much of Juice WRLD's brilliant catalogue. Now I know some people are going to hate me for saying this, but I feel that this album, Steppin' in Blood, is one of the greatest Chicago drill albums or projects ever produced, and it's not just because of the demonic and violent content, but Lil Jeff's whole flow and delivery throughout this project, combined with the very unique Chicago drill beats that are reminiscent of the golden era of the genre, makes Steppin' in Blood an incredible time capsule that both reaches back into the past of the early days when Chicago drill music was sonically completely original and not watered down or manufactured, as well as the lyrical content maintaining on the cutting edge of the modern era of drill and street rappers, obsessed with ultra violence and committing murder just so that they can rap about it. It's like something out of A Clockwork Orange, but it's set in Chicago and now. The project is hyper aggressive from its very first track, which is interestingly a studio remastered remix of Lil Jeff's classic song, improving the audio quality, as well as adding a verse from former No Limit street brother of Lil Bibby's and Chicago drill legend in his own right, G Herbo. But after Herbo's track ends, the first new song off the tape is the booming track Spot News, named after Chicago's infamous Twitter account that tweets police scanner info reporting the shootings in the city literally as they just happen, something that Lil Jeff seemed to trigger numerous times. The beat for Spot News is booming and reminiscent of the early days of Chicago drill when it was melodically heavily influenced by Atlanta trap. The mixing and mastering is on point and the drums shake the room before Jeff jumps on the track with his lazy flow, perfectly complementing the beat with back-to-back bars describing his lifestyle of being a killer in the streets with an effortless but impactful delivery. You can almost smell the pills on his breath. And the way Jeff raps about violence in this song make it seem like it's completely casual and he's fully unbothered, which perfectly captures his personality in the streets. Killing and rapping about it was just a normal day at the office to Lil Jeff at this point in his life. He raps about seeing ops, immediately pulling down his mask and jumping out the car, something we saw him literally do on the day he died, and rapping about putting people's faces on the news and the shootings he was responsible for being posted on Spot News. He seemingly refers to having got revenge for Z Money's death and saying the get back isn't a big deal, and he's got bars about stealing the very same watches that he wore in his early music videos. He would appear to refer to the murders of Monty and Lil Rob numerous times on the song, rapping that he does things twice and rapping how 2 people died on one hit. Jeff's laid-back delivery sees him float through the track with finesse, and if you weren't paying attention, you might not realize that every single bar is painting a vivid and violent picture of his life as a demon in the streets of Chicago. The next song on the tape, Lost My Gun, takes on a completely different vibe sonically, as this beat has a much more ambient and creepy melody that makes you feel like you're creeping up in the dark to surprise your op from behind rather than jumping out of the car blasting them in the face. Jeff starts the track with a hook that's just as haunting, rapping, "Damn, I don't think you know how it feels, jumping out with the chopper like you with the Navy SEALs, waking up early morning like it's time to go kill." We know that Jeff was really doing these things, and it's true. I really don't know what it feels like to live that life, but over the course of the song, Jeff proceeds to tell the listener exactly how it really feels to live the demonic gangbanging lifestyle that he's got himself wrapped up in, painting a vivid picture in excruciating detail of what it actually feels like to be in Lil Jeff's shoes. He raps about jumping out on the ops, popping them like pills, and we knew he was really doing both of those things. And he would go on to give an interesting insight into the dilemma he was facing before his death as his music career was taking off, mentioning how he was being offered record deals and explaining that people keep telling him to rap, but because of his pride, he wants to continue drilling and killing people in the streets.
Any labels been reaching out to you for any offers? What you telling them? How much they gotta come for Lil Jeff?
They know. I be telling them. They know. I talk to them and tell them.
Yeah.
I ain't going for no. Just know that.
Word.
They talk to me though. They know. They know what I be telling them.
It's a surprising level of self-awareness and quite prophetic considering what actually happened to Jeff. And in the next line, Jeff would seemingly predict his death, rapping that he's going to die before he gets arrested. On the next track titled On My Wrist, featuring fellow Bloodhound Vert, Jeff would rap boastfully that you can't hop in this car if you never killed nothing, and wearing black Nike Air Forces while walking down his ops and killing them. The next track, the LA Freestyle, was another reference to Jeff's time spent in LA, with this song having one of Jeff's most demonic bars referring to the murders of Monty and Lil Rob, with him rapping, "I know 2 ops didn't graduate," and saying that there's nowhere safe and that he smokes people downtown. On the song, he would also rap about getting watches for free and claiming to have stolen a total of 5 watches and 3 chains in his robbing career. He would also make reference to killing people in Milwaukee, giving some more proof to the rumor that he was carrying out contract killings in another state, as well as explaining the exact circumstances of his death, rapping, "He ain't shooting out of cars, he's chasing people on foot." The next track would be a song teased previously, but now updated with a very interesting title, the song In Your Home. Interestingly, this beat harks all the way back to pre-Chicago drill and the genre's original influences from Atlanta trap music, as the beat itself is just a slightly altered version of the original beat that Atlanta trap legend Young Jeezy used on his iconic track Trap or Die. But Jeff's modern day flow and subject matter regarding the Chicago streets in 2024 seems to completely breathe new life into this old beat, making for a song that still sounds modern despite actually being on a beat that was made in 2005. Like if you listen to a snippet of both songs back to back, the flow is so different it sounds like a whole new song. Once again, this is a song that seemingly describes the exact circumstances of Jeff's death. Jeff opens the track rapping, "Pulling up, hopping out while the car's still in drive, Vert hop out, Blitz F him up on both sides." Later rapping, "Last dude got chased all the way in his home." This is a crazy lyric as it shows the video where Jeff dies really wasn't the first time he had tried to chase somebody into their home trying to kill them. Ironically, this is the very thing he died trying to do. And people would post the lyrics in the comments saying that there's clearly no cap in Jeff's raps. Jeff would also diss Lil on this song and rap openly about the get back for Z Money. Commenters on this track on YouTube would praise the lyrics for being just straight up murder confessions. The next song, 9 with a 9, had a more modern day Chicago drill type beat with a haunting melody that sounded like it could be more at home on the next Lil Durk album. This was another aggressive anthem which included more bars seemingly aimed at Lil Rob and Monty, with Jeff rapping that a couple people died because of a watch. The next song, Here We Come, was another more modern beat with extremely violent content, with Jeff rapping about putting his ops on Spot News, referring to the deaths of Lil Rob and Monty once again, with more crazy lyrics where Jeff claimed to be able to count his bodies on 10 toes. Looking at the comments, this was seemingly the very demonic bars that fans were turning up for, but Jeff's delivery was so smooth, if you weren't paying attention you might not realize that he was rapping about having actually killed 10 people. On the next song titled Threat, Jeff opens the song with the same insane boast, rapping, "In my city I'm a threat, bitch I'm really up 10 hats." with comments laughing at just how crazy it is to start a song with this wild lyric saying you killed 10 people, and he follows it up by saying he has so many hats or kills that he should be sponsored by the hat brand Mitchell & Ness. Another crazy lyric would see Jeff rapping about killing someone and the video of them dying, saying that he watched it and knew it was him by his hat, and going on to rap back-to-back demonic bars, repeating his claim from the opening track that he had his ops screaming, going on to say, like, check the news, that dude dead, we really putting stuff to bed, and rapping, dropped his pictures on the net, his peoples had to see him dead. These were shocking and brutal lyrics, but they were truly the facts of the demonic life that Jeff was living, and ironically, he ended up on both sides of the gun. As some in the comments would explain, this song ironically saw Jeff describing his own death without even realizing it. Jeff probably didn't realize it, but his most demonic lyrics had an insane level of dramatic irony as he personally lived the life he rapped about and ended up falling victim to it in the very same way. Some people call this the best song on the album. Another person left an interesting comment praising Jeff's content, saying, bro made some real posthumous music, especially considering the circumstance. It's the same story and the guy screwed up letting him front head of a drill. He should have stayed out of Chicago. Bro would have been big. The music just hits different knowing who dude really was. This stuff's the definition of hard. Let's be honest, dude was really what Tupac rapped about and pretended to be, while others praised the production of the song. But the next track, Bill Russell, had even more lyrics that saw Jeff describing how he lived and ironically how he died at the same time. Rapping if somebody runs up on them, he's going to hit them in the face. And again, describing his own death without realizing it in the next bar, rapping, don't run because we chasing dudes. He would brag about having 10 kills again, and the penultimate track, Should Have Saw It, is probably my favorite song on the album apart from The beat is a booming, high energy instrumental that transcends Chicago drill and would actually be a club banger if the lyrics weren't so damn violent. And in the bars, Jeff goes back to back with aggressive lyrics and a relentless flow, delivering line after line about his real life as a killer in Chicago, with interesting details we hadn't heard before, like one bar where he claimed his mother saw him shooting a Draco outside of his home, and more bars that seem to describe his death, chasing somebody but not being able to make it far. Other bars mocked his ops for clumsily slipping over on drills, which is ironically exactly what his friend Q50 did in the footage of the shooting where Jeff lost his life. And a bar that's so eerily similar to how Jeff died, it feels like he wrote it from after death, rapping, I would have ran inside his home if my gun ain't click. This song was hard as nails, and setting aside the fact that ironically, all the things Jeff said he did to his ops actually ended up happening to him on camera, he really painted a vivid picture of being a hopeless shooter in the streets of Chicago, dishing out pain and living a life that can sadly only end one way. There was one particularly insightful comment on this track saying, damn Lil Jeff, I've seen this story play out so many times. I'm only 24 in Cali. Dude had a great energy about him. The laugh, charisma, and ability to comprehend certain things. Clearly his street cred preceded him. He didn't need to frontline anymore, but I believe his soul was in a lot of resistance to anything good after feeling the world let him down. You're saying my future not looking bright? He seemed disappointed when he said that, and seemed like someone who feels things. Perhaps he just said F it when things didn't go as planned in life like some of us do, but the older generations, even my age, have a responsibility to drop game when we see anybody like him around us. We might save a life, we might not, but how can we live any longer just standing by? At least you can say you tried. Stay prayed up, y'all. The final track on the Stepping in Blood tape was the aptly titled song Draco Afterlife. Now this is probably my least favourite song on the tape because it came with a very minimalist beat that's quite hard to listen to, but that's perhaps the point, as others have described this song as their favourite of the album. The track has a very harsh and disjointed feel that almost makes you feel like you're actually on a drill that's gone wrong. Now maybe I'm reading too much into it. This last song on the tape seems to really give the listener a feeling of peril when a drill goes left. From the opening bar, Jeff describes catching an op and sitting them down on the floor so they can't get up no more, and ops thinking that they're tall and getting knocked down, as well as shooting ops when they go out of bounds and saying that his ops can't catch him lacking, as well as saying that he hops out blowing and he makes his ops duck, that every time he sees an op he jumps out shooting. And one eerie bar seems to describe how things went left for Jeff on that day as he raps, he'll turn your smile right into a frown, and ending the song with the haunting bar, I hate my ops so effing bad, I'ma try and kill their in the next life after, and speaking on the outro, saying that he'll still be shooting his Draco in the afterlife. Now this is where the YouTube version of the song ends, but on the Spotify version, the track continues to run with the beat just looping for another 2 minutes without Jeff rapping again. Now I'm not sure if this is a mistake or intentional, but to me, it really works, and this haunting beat looping with silence from Jeff for an entire 2 minutes really brings you back to what it felt like was the theme of the song, with it representing the vibe of a drill gone wrong, and then the absence of Jeff for an entire 2 minutes at the end of the track, and with that last bar saying that he'll still be shooting the Draco in the afterlife just makes me feel like this is what the song is communicating. The aggressive and disjointed beat just keeps on banging away relentlessly for 2 minutes, like Jeff is in the afterlife shooting bullet after bullet at the same ops he was shooting when he was alive. Honestly, you might disagree with me, but I personally feel like Steppin' in Blood is one of the best and most important rap albums ever to emerge from Chicago. I think the tape will be analysed for years to come, and it says so much about the mood amongst the youth in Chicago in 2024. Jeff was truly living what he rapped, and between the reporting on the killings he allegedly did and this album, which was wall-to-wall with self-snitching and self-reflection on that lifestyle, it's hard not to see this album as like the ultimate confession of a Chicago demon. He speaks so casually about the murders, and the whole thing is steeped in irony because nearly everything he said he did to the ops ultimately ended up happening to him, and on camera no less. I feel like Steppin' in Blood cemented Lil Jeff as the latest and one of the greatest poster childs of Chicago drill. It summarized the culture of modern day Chicago murder music and represented the ultimate evolution of gangster rap. And don't get me wrong, I'm by no means condoning what Jeff did, but what I am saying is that he laid it out for the whole world to see and communicated a 1 in a million life of extreme violence with surprising eloquence. Therefore, it's no surprise then that since its release, Lil Jeff has become the latest deity on social media representing that Chicago drill culture. Perhaps one of the most interesting things to happen after Lil Jeff died wasn't necessarily in the streets, but actually was on the internet, specifically on Reddit, where most of the rabid fans of Chicago drill treat the gang wars like their professional sports. Jeff's death and the rumors of him possibly having been a more prolific killer than King Von with 10 or 11 bodies to his name quickly made Lil Jeff a darling amongst the Chiracology community, the original and by far the biggest and most buzzing Reddit community covering the Chicago gang wars and drill community. People would claim that Chiracology had finally found a new King Von in Lil Jeff, as comments would say the sub was now in shambles after the death of their #1 draft pick prospect in the 2024 gang wars, and that people had only got interested in him now that he was no longer here. One post would pop up 4 days after Lil Jeff's death with a montage of his happy moments and a caption reading, "I literally have no idea why Lil Jeff's death hit so hard. Like, I can't even explain it. Dude's personality was just top tier. I wanted this dude to just make it and leave the BS alone. Looking at his parents, he didn't even have a chance at life from the start. RIP Jeff Hardy, Jeff Dahmer." After that, speculation would begin as a rumor spread from Street News TV saying that Jeff was actually wanted for the double murder when he lost his life, and posts praising Jeff saying a desire to avenge him could pull someone out of a coma would go viral in Chiracology too. However, despite Jeff becoming a huge topic for debate in the Chiracology subreddit, for some, they would need to take it a step further, and soon a whole new community dedicated solely to Lil Jeff alone would emerge with the name r/Lil Jeffology. Interestingly, the Lil Jeff subreddit actually was created 2 days after Lil Jeff's death on the 10th of June 2024, with the first post actually being simply a text post with his name, but soon more tributes began appearing on the barely populated message board, with the first reading, "Long live Big Bleed, they couldn't take you," and the next reading, "Long live Jeff Hardy." However, it wasn't all love, as Jeff's internet ops would begin commenting, mocking him for getting shot so many times on the ground. But that didn't stop the obsessive fans continuing to show love. Another post reading, "Bleeding for life, long live Mr. Take Your J," and soon fans would begin to take the glazing to comical levels, to the point where it would seemingly become a joke to declare your intense love for Lil Jeff. One poster shared saying that they had a hard time sleeping last night and that they felt Lil Jeff would have made King Von proud, and commenters would explain how they felt the same and they couldn't believe the people who were trashing Jeff before his death were now becoming fans. Others said they'd woken up since Jeff's death, wishing it was a dream, while some commented that they had to smoke to numb the pain and that they had nearly thrown up when they heard the news. The next post would claim that Jeff left bloody footprints all across Chicago and Milwaukee and claimed that he'd be remembered forever for his actions in the streets, with fans in the comments beginning to debate on their favourite Lil Jeff songs and verses. And this is where the post began to get truly bizarre and ridiculous. Another post would then emerge titled 24 Hours Without Lil Jeff, where the original poster complained that they've suffered depression and sleepless nights because of Jeff's passing, claiming that his lyrics were like therapy to him and that he felt a deep personal connection to Jeff despite his 11 bodies and personal flaws. Now Jeff had died, he claimed there was a void to fill in his heart that he couldn't fill, and he praised the Lil Jeffology subreddit as a place where he could grieve Jeff in solidarity with other fans. But not all the comments took this seriously, and I wouldn't either, but many others praised the sentiment and made comments bigging up Jeff for his violent crimes and paying homage to his hat emojis representing kills. Others would comment absurd nicknames for Jeff, saying things like "Long live Mr. Too Slimy, aka Big Bleed, aka Jeff Hardy, aka Mr. I woulda ran inside his home if my gun ain't click, aka Hefe," with his haters even clapping back in the comments to those and mocking Jeff for how he went out, saying aka Mr. I got my S pushed back and lit up 15 times because I thought they stopped making guns when they made mine. Others made more sensible comments that seemed to have truly taken the pulse of the drill community at the time, with one person saying the replies to this weird comment are even weirder. You followed Lil Jeff because of his bodies. Stanning a crackhead serial killer ain't it, fam. Y'all disciples of death, and you need Jesus. Lil Death will be forgotten by next month. However, Lil Jeff was not forgotten next month, and every day that went by, his legend would only get bigger. People referred to Lil Jeff as J-Roy in honor of King Von's nickname V-Roy that he got from his best friend and prolific O-Block shooter, T-Roy. People posted Jeff's lyrics saying V-Roy would have been proud of J-Roy, aka Jeffrey Dahmer. People vowed to snort perks in Jeff's honor. Some said they were so devastated by the loss of Jeff, they were ready to pass on themselves, and claiming that they had even dreamed of Jeff drilling them. Some compared Jeff to Michael Jackson and Tupac Shakur, marking the milestone of it being exactly 1 week since Jeff lost his life. And another saying things haven't gotten easier after a whole week, asking other Lil Jeffologists on grieving tips, and claiming that every day it was getting harder, not easier, to live without Jeff. By day 12, people were saying that they were saying bring back King Jeff in the mirror 3 times, but nothing was working. Joking aside, some people were truly devastated by the loss of Jeff, while others were simply curious as to exactly who was responsible. Funnily enough, in the days and weeks that followed Jeff's death, these rabid internet communities would not only get to work cracking the case and identifying Jeff's shooter, but also splitting into 2 factions, with Redditors picking sides and going to war with one another about who was really in the right in the situation that claimed Jeff's life. After Lil Jeff's death, eventually many comments would surface dissing the set that were allegedly responsible for taking Jeff's lives to defend themselves, with things like TrapCity K becoming a regular post in Lil Jeffology. Other posts would say that they would soon be changing their name to Trap Cemetery and claiming that TrapCity would be in danger forever now. Some would go as far as to say that it makes them happy every time that they see shots fired on TrapCity's hood, but interestingly, it didn't take long for the users of both Chiracology and now Lil Jeffology on Reddit to produce a name of who they believe shot Jeff. According to Chiracology, who cracked the case a mere 2 days after Jeff was killed, the alleged shooter was TrapCity Rob, or iTrap Rob, who had actually been arrested several times at the house where the shooter had allegedly shot Jeff from the porch. Posts would circulate within days naming TrapCity Rob as wanted and on the run, with one news article on Jeff's death confirming that the shooter was wanted by the police. On the 16th of June, Chiracology would appear to identify TrapCity Rob in a fresh post just over a week after Jeff's death, with some people pointing out that in this photograph, Rob was wearing a shirt that seemingly was trolling Jeff and the situation how he lost his life. TrapCity Rob would then begin to go viral on both subreddits, with numerous posts alluding to him having been Jeff's killer. Interestingly, TrapCity Rob was another person who members of the Bloodhounds had once been friendly with, and throwback pictures would later circulate showing Bloodhound Vert and another man standing alongside Rob, and alleged comments on the original picture by Vert would be dissing the other man in the picture who posted it originally, a man by the name of Trey, who was actually a relative of Vert's that Jeff was even following. Vert would call them out in the comments of the picture for trolling, but it's unclear if he was dissing Trey or Rob or both of them. But he would go on to comment Goofy K. Someone called Stalk in a Bag 067 would comment something back, to which an apparent Bloodhound member would comment, drop a low so we can give your kids a Father's Day surprise they would never forget, with Stalk in a Bag then deleting his entire Instagram account. Drewski Gang Trey, who posted the picture, also posted a story with Kayla B, King Von's sister, even though No Limit, Lamron, THF, etc. are all seemingly cool with the Bloodhounds. Just days before the killing of Jeff, Vert appeared to still be liking Trey's posts, although he could well have been trolling. And Trey also had posts liked by Jeff himself all the way back in October 2023, so perhaps they were friends, or maybe frenemies. Anyway, some YouTube channels like Drill Time TV would circulate reports that no charges were being filed against Lil Jeff's shooter, but no official paperwork has circulated. However, once the internet had realized that TrapCity Rob might be the main suspect, the keyboard warriors on Reddit would begin to go to work. TrapCity Rob is actually a rapper as well, and after he was identified as a possible shooter in Jeff's case, a 4-year-old song of his would begin to go viral on Reddit. The track was What a Feelin', released in July 2020, and it didn't really get much shine at the time, but now Rob was potentially the killer of Chirac's new favorite killer rapper. Suddenly, there was a spike of interest in Rob's old song. The views would jump up by over 10,000, and the YouTube upload of his song would be flooded with comments referencing the Jeff situation. One would say that Jeff came to deliver the mail, and Unk said return to the sender, with Unk seemingly being a reference to the fact that TrapCity Rob is somewhat older and probably the generation above Lil Jeff and his friends. Another comment would say Big Unk never hopped off the porch, he was camping on it. One person said you can tell this young dude is cool, but just handled his business, making a split-second decision. As I said, people on the internet were treating the gang wars like it was professional sports, with one commenter calling Rob the defensive player of the year, and they would say protect the porch at all costs. But more importantly, some people commented to say that the message behind Rob's song actually resonated with them. In one now infamous lyric, Rob would rap take care of them children by a couple of buildings. One person seemed to suggest that Rob's outlook on life was actually the perfect antidote to Lil Jeff's demonic way of behaving. reading, commenting, "Mad respect to Unc. Let these young bulls know. Learn a lesson. Get your priorities straight. Stack your paper and invest. Don't pop pills and crash out. Take care of your kids." There was some admiration for Rob amongst fans who were speculating on his role in Jeff's death on Reddit's Chiracology 2. So on June the 28th, a new Reddit community was actually started to rival Lil Jeffology and pay tribute to his killer, specifically TrapCity Rob, with r/TrapCity Unc Gang emerging on Reddit too, with the first post asking, "What's the status of Shorts? Hope Unc okay," a reference to the shorts-wearing man in the surveillance footage who Jeff had been trying to kill at first before he lost his life. Someone would comment suggesting that Shorts didn't get hit at all because his speed stats were maxed out, and calling him Flash Unc, saying that he outrun all of Jeff's bullets. From here, people would begin posting messages of support for Rob and Unc Gang, with one post saying, "When the Bloodhounds start misbehaving, call Team Unc." Other posts said, "Protect Unc at all costs," with people commenting, "Protect Rob like he protected that porch." Members begun referring to themselves as PDN, or Porch Defender Nation. People would be posting a list of Unc's accomplishments in 2024 so far, saying that he's got fans worldwide, his ops are neutralized, his porch is protected, and making reference to his lyrics. But things were actually a little deeper than just Lil Jeff haters showering respect on his alleged killer. The next post asked the followers, "Why did you join Unc Gang?" with the comments responding being surprisingly insightful. One person said the predictable, "Well, Unc stood on business, gotta give him his flowers." Another person said, "I'm actually in Unc's age range, so I respect a man who does his job and does it well." Whilst one commenter explained, "Who else gonna hand out a lifetime of whipping on these 20-year-old demons who are out here killing dudes for Instagram fame?" Now, I thought this was an interesting comment because it gets to the heart of the generational divide of gangsters and trappers. Rob is a little bit older than Jeff, and it seems that his attitude and outlook, at least from his music and interviews, is that he's much more mature and focused on making money and taking care of the people around him. That's a stark contrast to the energy that Lil Jeff was putting out in his music and on social media, bragging about committing 11 murders, taking the lives of school children, endangering innocent people, and disrespecting the dead for views and attention online. That's not the only reason he did it, but you can't say that Jeff wasn't enjoying the clout. TrapCity Unc Gang subreddit kind of represented the polar opposite attitude to some of the more deranged murder celebrations seen on Lil Jeffology, or occasionally the wider Chiracology. The TrapCity Unc Gang sub would post Rob writing on Facebook how doing a rough 4 months in jail and only getting one phone call a week really changed him. Rob would say that he spent his time praying and reading and focusing, and that he never wants to do time like that again, with all the comments full of messages of support. He would also make a socially conscious post where he explained that he feels that a lot of young black men's conflict skills are drastically underdeveloped, and that a lot of disagreements end up being fights or shootouts, and he thinks the youth should try and talk it out and articulate their thoughts and feelings better. Going on to say that black on black violence is really just a distraction from the systemic injustices that their community face, going on to call out drill music and calling it the commercialization of murder, and encouraging people to use their heads and think more. Funnily enough, the divide between Lil Jeffology and TrapCity Unc Gang would spill into the wider Chiracology community and end up becoming a full-blown beef, as Unc Gang members claimed that they were being blackballed and suppressed by the moderators on the Lil Jeffology subreddit, telling other members to keep posting in the main Chiracology subreddit to push the Unc Gang agenda. Redditors showing support for Unc Gang on Chiracology would ask whether fat phobia or ageism was the reason why Big Unc Rob wasn't getting his props, which attracted actual sensible comments from people who explained that they believed it was kind of the Lil Tim effect, because people are infatuated with Jeff just like Von, therefore they hate his killer. These posts were seemingly getting removed by mods from Chiracology, with one post suggesting that the mods actually found the Unc Gang trolling funny, despite still removing it. And then, days later, Lil Jeffologists would accuse Chiracology of having a bias towards Rob and Unc Gang. Now, as bizarre as it is to think that this real gang war and Lil Jeff's death sparked an entire internet gang war on Reddit, this is what drill is in 2024. And perhaps what was really happening is the more conscious and positive message that TrapCity Rob was spreading was genuinely resonating with the wider Chiracology community, as it seemed that at this point, drill fans were truly tired of the constant violence and losses of their favorite demonic rappers. And ironically, after going viral on Reddit, TrapCity Rob would appear on the X-Man Rico YouTube channel in Block to Block episode 20 for an interview alongside Tero and OTF Black, where they actually address Reddit's discussion of his possible involvement in the death of Lil Jeff. An interview which was notably filmed standing on a porch, an interview which Rob opened by denying that he was the killer of Lil Jeff.
Big Rob, man. I don't even think you need no introduction at this point, my boy.
I do, man.
Okay, for sure.
It's not me, man. Ain't nobody ever see this man's face. Like, I don't know how they did what they did, but it ain't one of them.
Now, this interview had some surprisingly inspiring moments, like when OTF Black said that there's nothing wrong with working an honest 9-to-5 job, and that he's been working since getting out of prison.
I'ma speak on it. Yep. I can speak on it. I just got the Fed. As soon as I came home from the Fed, I went straight to Amazon, got a job. I worked in that 2 years. I only been home 3.
And he connected.
On
He
my
got a lot
soul.
of connections.
I'm in
For
it.
sure.
Working.
Rob would actually say that he feels like drill culture hurt the streets of out west Chicago.
With all us being from Chicago, and that's why I was asking your age to see around how old you was when the drill era came. When that hit Chicago, do you think it teed the city up?
Hell yeah.
See, I was a shorty. I always been outside.
He'd also later say that when it comes to drill, he likes the energy of the songs, but not the killing.
I like the energy, man. I
Yeah.
don't like the killing, but I like the energy, though. That's all I can say.
At this point, the interviewer says that he's surprised that they're so mature with their answers, proceeding to ask where they think that the violence can stop in Chicago.
Hey man, y'all talking some grown men. Ain't nothing wrong with jobs. Y'all don't like the killings. So I can ask y'all this question, because I always think this just start with gangbangers, man. How y'all think this violence could even slow down?
They would respond by saying that they remember the days before the violence, popularized by drill music, and that they had lived in the streets of Chicago since before people said they were smoking Tuka.
I ain't gonna lie, we can really say we started this era when it comes to this shit over here, because I've been through it all. My soul, I'm 36, I done been through the whole hood.
Before Tuka, all that.
Rob would say that he's been a rapper from the streets, but he's socially conscious and would never chase and promote the violence.
Pain.
Chase that drill rap shit, bro. Like,
I be on some pain.
Conscious, bro. Like, I'm in my environment, but I understand the overall. You know what I'm saying?
Rob would later say in part 2 that he feels black men in America struggle with emotional intelligence and mental health issues due to the trauma of the streets.
And something I've been noticing, bro, a lot of got different issues with themselves that they think is normal because we didn't grew up with that. Like PTSD, anxiety, anger issues.
Listen, man, the black man is very underdeveloped and undereducated in America, bro.
Ooh, not me?
No, just listen, bro. When it comes to emotional intelligence, reasoning and people getting shot over shoes and that's not being emotionally intelligent. This traumatizing though, bro. Like, this you deal with, this you choose to deal with. This is the life we put ourselves in.
Rob would elaborate, saying that he's conscious to the plot against his people through violent drill music and that he doesn't plan to fall victim to it.
It's a plot against us, bro. We fall into it, but I'm not gonna fall victim though. You know?
That was strong. Like
that was. Man, Rob talking that grown man. Man, Rob, bro.
Black and Tero would then bring up the post from Chiracology where people in TrapCity Unk Gang subreddit suggested that Rob should run for president, creating a meme that put his face on the iconic picture of Malcolm X, with them breaking into laughter and finally acknowledging that they do indeed read the content posted in the TrapCity Unk Gang subreddit, and with Rob going on to say that he's now getting recognized in public.
what they say, they got him at the
Yeah, y'all seen that picture? Hey, they crazy on Reddit, folks.
You say protect the trap at all costs.
You gotta go down Reddit and just type in I Trap Rob.
My kids like this is crazy, gang. Everywhere I go, like, oh damn, I can't even go nowhere. Man, I see how this Reddit be crazy.
Now, the interviewer would ask him what he thinks of his newfound fame and what he thought of being named Defensive Player of the Year by Reddit, with a noticeable cut in the video, meaning Rob probably said something that initially he regretted. But ultimately, what was left in the video saw him go on to explain that he didn't chase the clout and that he doesn't like Redditors.
They say he the Defensive Player of the Year, folks. But on some serious
Nah, it ain't like that.
It ain't that. But is that something you could talk about in club? Since I see, because you got a whole.
Chase that shit. I don't even like it, so I don't need internet crazy. So.
OTF Black would say that Reddit likes to put bodies on people and that they once put one on him, seemingly a reference to an IG story that Black had posted some time ago telling people if they want their respect, they should get their bodies up, with commenters on Reddit saying this was self-snitching and speculating that he may have been referring to his involvement in the FBG cash murder, with Black essentially denying this in this interview.
Internet definitely put a body on you, they put one on me.
Yeah?
So that's what blew me up.
Trying to say he did, oh damn.
Oh damn.
Where'd that come from? Reddit, DJU,
yeah, they got you on Reddit teed up.
There was one crazy moment where Rob was asked if he's on Reddit reading stuff about himself, with Rob just calmly nodding and smiling.
You their favorite person on there? Do you be going on there reading about yourself?
Rob would go on to seemingly reference a post from the Reddit, which was an image from Google Street View of the house that looked like where this all happened, with the title Unk Manor, with Rob actually revealing in the interview that this was really his grandmother's house and that he's worried it made her a target.
That is my grandma's house though.
Y'all in danger after everything? Y'all names being put out there like that? This hood? Like that house, you say that's your grandma's house, that's plastered all over the internet, bro. People looking that address up, riding past it.
I see that shit on Reddit. That's real shit though. It's the internet, bro.
It's the internet. Look,
outside, you know.
Rob would ultimately tell Redditors to stop trolling, with Black saying that people actually get killed for trolling.
Definitely don't play about that trolling.
Could you speak on that a little bit? Yeah.
Stop trolling. Nah, stop trolling.
Rob even said that he wanted to run for mayor of Chicago in part 2 when he was asked if he was planning on staying in the city.
Y'all gonna be here for the rest of y'all lives, or y'all finna skedaddle?
I'll be the mayor of Chicago, man. I'm gonna be the mayor.
Skedaddle. I'm gone.
That Malcolm X just made me, I'm doing it even more, bro.
Ain't you talking that?
That's a real shame
They
about
need to let me be the mayor of the city, bro.
It's about.
It is what it is right now. I'm gonna be the mayor in like the next 5 to 10 years, bro.
So you always wanted to be in politics, or that's just some new?
No, I wanted to be in politics.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, that's raw as hell.
Now, joking aside, somebody who's actually been in the streets of Chicago and the correctional system may well end up being quite good at changing things for the better if they became the mayor. But anyway, something people commented on from this interview was just how much looking around that they were doing to make sure that nobody was approaching them while standing on the porch, with Reddit later circulating a meme that had pasted all 3 of their heads on a carrier strike group, with Rob even posting this meme to his own Instagram page with a laughing emoji. It seemed that TrapCity Rob was actually one of the few people in the streets of Chicago with a genuinely positive and progressive message on the state of the gang wars, and this was noticed in the comments that praised Rob for a positive approach and not dissing anyone. However, unfortunately, just because some positivity is being spread doesn't mean the war is slowing down. In fact, exactly a month after Jeff's death, one of his closest friends and frequent collaborator, l.a.x, was reportedly killed too, shot dead and left in the streets, with broken-hearted Chiracologists pointing out that now, out of the big 4 people in their friendship group, Lil Jeff, U50, Vert, and l.a.x, only 2 remained alive.
Breaking overnight, 1 person is dead after a shooting on the city's west side.
Police say a man was sitting in a rideshare vehicle.
You see 8 bullet holes on the rear right passenger window and 1 major hole on the door. So far, no one has been arrested.
Meanwhile, a local anti-violence advocate, Pastor Corey Brooks, says it was his administrative assistant's son who was killed here last night. He says the pain they feel right now is indescribable and asking people to pray for the family.
The teens made it only steps away from the front door of their school. Bullets shattered the glass and sent people inside nearby businesses ducking for cover.
The mother of Montario Williams tells CBS 2 Montario and Robert were good friends. Montario was looking to graduate and hoping to attend a trade school. His mom thinks he may have gotten into carpentry. She says what happened is surreal, that her son was just trying to survive the streets.
This is 17-year-old Montario Williams and 16-year-old Robert Boston. Their lives cut short.
2 Innovations high school classmates were shot dead in the Loop near Washington and Wabash Friday afternoon, just as it was getting out for lunchtime.
Another violent weekend in Chicago with nearly 50 people shot as of this morning, including several teenagers.
And all of this over the first full weekend of summer break for Chicago public schools.
The numbers are frankly hard to hear. 18 of those shootings happened just overnight. 49 people shot, 9 of them dead, and of those 49, we now know 8 of them are under the age of 18.
Mayor calling on more help, he says, from the federal government in terms of funding, but also making a plea to the community to turn perpetrators in so they can be held accountable.
We need to do things differently. This is terrible. This is unacceptable. But then the same thing keeps happening. So there is no magic potion to cure violence in the city of Chicago.
How many of you guys have been exposed to some type of violence in this neighborhood?
Jeremiah was the youngest. He told me about the loss of his father.
He got shot when he was going to a store.
How many more people have you lost to gun violence since the last time we spoke?
I'll say at least about 20.
20?
I couldn't tell you.
You couldn't tell me.
I think Chicago has been labeled helpless by the nation.
The violence here has robbed them of a childhood free of tragedy, a cycle that has continued into adulthood.
When I made my video King Von, rap's first serial killer, I truly couldn't have imagined anyone ever topping just how crazy and twisted Von's story was. I felt like Von was a one of a kind, especially when you consider just how allegedly deadly he was in the streets, combined with the fact that he was truly a talented rapper on the mic, with storytelling skills that were genuinely top tier when it comes to the craft of gangster rap. But the more I learned about Lil Jeff, his story, and his music, in many ways, he actually tops the King Von story. I'm by no means saying that Lil Jeff was a better rapper, or even a more prolific gangster than King Von, but what I am saying saying is that he appeared to embody the exact same principles as King Von did, and arguably, in some ways, he even took things a few steps further. Jeff himself was clearly obsessed with the violent gangster rappers who claimed to have bodies like King Von and NBA Youngboy. And again, I'm not saying that Jeff is anywhere near as good as rapping and storytelling on the mic as Von, but Jeff's music, mindset, and artistry actually say a lot about the state of Chicago drill music in 2024. Stepping in Blood is one of the greatest Chicago drill full-length projects ever released, and that's not because Jeff is an amazing rapper, or because it has the best production attributed to a Chicago drill project, but because the project, the beats, and the subject matter perfectly encapsulate exactly what's going on in the minds of Chicago's youth in 2024. Set aside the fact that Jeff killed people, he experimented with drill music and created something totally unique. He took the leaned out rap style of later Chief Keef and brought it into the modern era. He combined the wavy and lazy flows of a mumble rapper with the demonic and gritty content and real true crime backstory of someone like King Von. Jeff is like the mumble rap King Von, the Zan Von if you will. He paints a dark picture of the life he's living as a killer in Chicago at this point in his life. He explains the mindset of him and his crew, sliding every day, desperate to kill their enemies, take their watches, and mock them mercilessly for the whole world to see. Jeff celebrates real-life murders and violence with the same kind of glee a teenage Fortnite player would exhibit after killing their opponent and doing an emo over their body in the game. When I first heard Jeff's song Ah and heard him rap, he was screaming ah when he got hit, followed by the ad-lib of him doing the impression of those screams, ah. It actually made me laugh. That was before I learned the story and understood that he was doing a real impression of the dying screams of somebody whose life that he took before they even had a chance to turn 18. That's far from funny, but it truly is the attitude of the modern day streets in Chicago. It feels like once upon a time, young people in the rap scene dreamed of getting rich, but now it seems they simply dream of taking a life and getting away with it. Just like Von did, Jeff's music captures the darkest moods of the youth in the streets of Chicago and all over the world today. Everybody wants get back and revenge, much more than they want money or a long, successful, and healthy life. And for some, it really seems like the name of the game is just killing as many people as they can and knowing that their time to go won't be much further away. The first video of Jeff's to pass 1 million views was with this milestone being achieved ironically 16 days after his death. And the story of Jeff is really a cautionary tale. Even though it's completely wrong and immoral, even if you do respect somebody who has killed as many as 11 people, Jeff's story ended in a completely predictable way. No one was surprised that the supposed demon who claimed to have had 10 or 11 hats lost his life trying to take the life of another person. For the same reason I called King Von a serial killer, it's pretty easy to say that Jeff fits the very same criteria that the FBI lists to make you a serial killer. He seems to have killed more than 2 people in different places with more than a month apart. It sounds like he got a lot of personal gratification out of committing those murders. He seemed to have a pattern of behavior, and he left clues for the whole world to try and decipher in his music and on his social media posts. Beyond the many lyrics claiming to have a high body count, he left cryptic clues all over the place, like his Instagram captions using emojis to depict 10 different hats, each one giving a clue as to exactly who it was he was saying he killed.
Analyzing these emojis deeper seems perhaps like a silly pursuit, knowing how prone Jeff was to trolling and how aware he was about his growing infamy amongst the Chicago drill fans, and how he was willing to further increase it with his antics online. But still, as I previously mentioned, the 2 graduation caps seem like an obvious reference to Monty and Lil Rob. Then there's the woman's hat emoji, which was changed to the princess emoji, which could possibly be referencing D-Money, while either the crown or the so-called rescue worker's hat likely being a reference to Lil Deuce. And continuing the list towards the beginning, the so-called top hat emoji could literally mean his top hat, meaning his most valuable or favorite kill, with that likely being Lil, who would have been Jeff's revenge for the murder of his beloved cousin Z-Money. Or it could be a reference to the Vice Lords, who are known to have used that top hat as part of their symbolism. Or it could have been any number of things for that matter. The so-called military helmet emoji, on the other hand, might well be the most interesting one in that post, given particularly the rumors that Jeff had been doing contract killings all the way out in Milwaukee, with this emoji perhaps rather perfectly capturing the idea of Jeff doing a kill as simply a hired gun or professional soldier. Then there's the 3 blue caps at the start, also known as the build cap emoji, a much more cryptic start to an already cryptic list, with this emoji generally being used as the standard one to symbolize catching a hat, meaning a body. Perhaps these alleged victims may have meant less to Jeff, perhaps being simply practice kills that he participated in with the older Bloodhounds when he was first getting into gang life. Or perhaps the meaning is in the color, with the blue color being one of the main colors used by the GDs or gangster disciples, such as the earliest ops of DrillCity, the 8-Tray Mob, Evans Mob, and Hit Squad, with the first body of Jeff, according to one Chiracologist, indeed being Clay from 8-Tray. As can be seen from the clues left by Jeff, while at times in his career he likened himself to Jeffrey Dahmer, clearly from all of these clues and hints and twisted codes used to hint to the world exactly what he was doing in the streets, if you ask me, he was much more like the Zodiac Killer.
Just like Von, Jeff wanted everyone in the world to know what he'd done and that he'd gone further than Von. But the difference right now is, unlike Von, I haven't been able to pin down every single one of Jeff's supposed 10 killings that he claims responsibility for. I couldn't prove with the information that's out there that Jeff killed all 10 or 11 people that he claims he did, but he says he did it. Right now, just like what happened with Von, as more time goes by since his passing, it's likely that more information will come out to prove or disprove his exact involvement in the murders he's accused of. By the end of his life, Jeff was claiming he'd killed 11 people. I personally feel like I've only seen conclusive proof of about 3 murders. But at the end of the day, Jeff dropped lyric after lyric about stalking his enemies, chasing them down, and even running in their homes to try and kill them. And from the surveillance footage that we saw when he passed away, it seemed like Jeff was really doing everything he rapped about. So even though we've only really been able to prove a few of these murders, at the end of the day, Jeff was rapping that he'd really killed 11 people. And you know what? I think I believe him.